rocking on the midnight train. Steady rocking on the midnight train. Oh no, steady rocking on the midnight train. So we just start. So I hope now Jackie is good. So I'm sorry, we had just talked and then Jackie joined. So Jackie, please join now. So Jackie will be joining shortly, and then we'll be able to start this conversation tonight. So Jackie, you can be able to join now, and everyone who wants to join this conversation, there's a link on the description. We're going to pin the link again on the comment box so you can be able to join. All right. So Jackie, wherever you are, please join this conversation. So tonight we just want to talk about maybe the inequalities. Yeah. You are set, Daisy? For you,
Yes.
you're good? Okay,
I'm good. I'm set.
Fantastic. So I'm just waiting for Jackie, then we'll be able to start. So Jackie, wherever you are, I've sent you the new link. So please join using the new link. All right. So and everyone who wants to join this conversation, Abok, we cannot be able to see where you are. Eh? Abok, where are you? You should join this conversation.
By the way, Patrick, I have a question for you on gender.
Me?
There she
a question to me?
Yes.
Okay, okay. You said you have a question to me?
Yes, I have a question for you.
Yeah, you can ask it before Jackie goes ahead. Yeah.
So I'm just asking, do you think, what's your take on the gender inequality in Kenya specifically?
This is interesting. Yeah. Jackie, yeah. So personally, you know me, I support women. Right. Point number one, tick.
Yes, he's a feminist.
I support women. I support women and women agenda, right? That's number one. Secondly, I think there's a lot we can do. I still think there's a lot of disparities or inequalities. So there's a lot that needs to be done. So I don't want to preempt this conversation. This was supposed to be Jackie's conversation, and then we ask our questions. So Jackie, just it.
Right. So Patrick, did you say you are a feminist? I just wanted to confirm that quickly before we go on.
Did we?
Yes, I'm just wondering. I just needed to confirm that little detail before we move on.
She's asking whether you're a feminist.
Yeah, I am. I am a feminist. I confirm that, but not the other one. Eh? Not a toxic one, but I'm just a feminist.
You don't need to. You don't need to be the other one. You just need to be a feminist.
Yes.
Yeah, I'm a feminist. I'm a feminist, and I want to confirm in our home, I'm the only man. So the rest are women, and my only son. So we are only 2, 3, and my nephew is 4. Yeah, I think we are 4. So the rest are women. So I think women are so important.
Okay, thank you very much. Thank you for that. Anyway, I'll go back to the question. I can't remember what question we were discussing today because I've just come, as I told you, I've just come out of another live show that I was moderating. So let me just very quickly type here on my laptop to find the question. So then I can proceed with enough information. Okay. So the question was, and by the way, let me just start a watch party in my page so that at least we get some viewership there.
So probably Jackie, as you type, I can quickly just highlight what the question was as you type. We were talking about gender inequality in either Kenya or just in the world in general, and we were hoping to hear what your take on the same is. what you feel exists either here in Kenya, in Africa, or in the world at large. You know, just basically get to hear from your side about gender inequality, what our systems currently are and what we can do to be better, what the cracks in this system are, and what generally it is that we can do either as men as women to collectively come together to bridge the gender inequality gap.
Okay, so I've just literally put that on my Facebook page, on my normal page, you know.
The cracks in this system are,
sorry about the
and
noise.
what generally.
Yeah, I've just killed the noise now. Lovely. Okay, so the question is, as you've said, Daisy, is gender inequalities in Africa. I think it's better to be specific. Do you mean Africa or do you mean the whole world?
I would be interested in Africa specifically, because I'm African, but we'd also like to hear what happens in the world and if there's anything that they are doing better that we can do, or if there's something they're doing worse that we can avoid in the process of bridging the gap of gender inequality. Okay,
so of course I'm just trying to just invite a few people to watch, and then we could proceed. Now, of course, we do know that there is, should I say, nearly illegal inequalities between men and women. There is definitely disparities between the two genders, and I think that is the first thing we need to do is acknowledge the fact that yes, in comparison to men, women are poorer, and women have, less access, to resources than men. We do know that women, in terms of social mobility, women are not able to move up the ladders as quickly as men, and often is tied to the roles that are considered female roles. So we do agree 100% that yes, there is disparities between the two genders, and that the question therefore is, how do we? First of all, we need to define these disparities, and then we talk about how we work towards making that gender gap smaller. So I think yes, more very disadvantaged in Africa in general, and I think this comes it's first of all, it's more cultural. Okay, there is a cultural element to it, and then second of all, it is the scarcity of resources as well. And you find that being that women are more mellow and less aggressive, in terms of getting resources for themselves, we end up being very.
I'm sorry, Jackie, your internet is buffering a bit.
In comparison to men. So I don't know what.
Your internet is buffering a bit. We are having some challenge on your. Yeah, there we go. So she's lost again.
I'm sorry about that.
Yeah, as quickly before she comes back. Ah, there she is.
What's happening with the internet? Is it?
It's your internet. It's the one on your end now.
Is it my internet?
Yes.
Okay. Right. Okay. So Patrick, can you, if you can remove me and then I come back on the laptop, I think that would be better. Can you remove me and then I come back, please? Sure.
Let me do that.
Yeah. I think probably as you quickly adjust, Patrick, I think she said something about given that the majority of the disparities are illegal, I think it's something very important that we need to know, to realize, it's either illegal in terms of one gender trying to how do I call it? Like to tear down another gender, or basically by even tribe, by also, but there are so many factors also, racism again, and we have patriarchy among females ourselves. So there are so many issues that come in that are not right and that are not illegal, because women are one of the most aggressive people in the universe, and we are one of the most strong group of people. There she is.
I apologize, guys. Yeah, I've come back. Sorry, I had to close one window. I think I had the live, the whatever.
Yeah.
So, okay. Leave side. I think I leave side. Okay. Yeah. So that's better now, guys. How are you? This is better now. This is much better.
Yes.
Okay. So gender agenda. How important is it? I think we'll start with Patrice Lumumba, and Patrice Lumumba talked about why we need to empower women. I don't know whether anyone remembers that quote about. What did Patrice Lumumba say about women? Let me just find that very quickly.
And to check that as well.
Yeah. On women. Now he said something, not Patrice Lumumba, but sorry, I got the wrong guy. Sankara.
Sankara on women.
Yeah, on women.
Okay.
So if you can find that very quickly. Right, so Thomas Sankara, this is what Thomas Sankara, and because we are making this about Africa, and that's why I thought, what if we start from Sankara? And by the way, I like conversations that flow naturally, without having too much stage. So I don't know if there is some echo. Can you guys hear an echo?
From your end, yes. Probably you can have some earphones.
Yeah, I think there's an echo.
Headphones on. Yeah.
From my side?
Yes.
Right, let me try to get...
Is your Facebook on? Is your Facebook on?
No, it's all closed. All that is closed.
Okay.
Yeah. All that is closed, and I can hear my voice, but I don't know why. Right. Okay. All right. I'll get some headphones. What Thomas Sankara says. Okay. So a true humanist, Thomas Sankara, grasped that the fight for women's equality was part of the fight for racial equality. And of course, the following excerpts are from The Revolution Cannot Triumph Without the Emancipation of Women. Guys, let me just get the headphones, please. 1 minute, sorry. I apologize. Yeah, sorry.
So maybe she'll be back shortly. Is that?
You're still gonna count.
But
No. Right, let me try this. Right. Hello, is that better?
Yes, so much.
Much better. Thank you. Thank you, guys. Okay, so I was going back to Sankara's. So the revolution cannot triumph without the emancipation of women. So he held. So this was in Ouagadougou, the capital of Burkina Faso, and this was in 1987. And he said, posing the question of women in Burkina
Burkinabe society today means forcing the abolition of the system of slavery to which they have been subjected for millennia. I can still hear the echo, guys. I don't know whether you can hear it.
It's not as bad. Maybe you can continue.
Bearable. It's bearable.
It's bearable. Okay. Let me just reduce my volume. Maybe I'm too loud or something. I'm not sure. Right. How is that? Can you hear me still? Okay, lovely. Thank you. All right. So he said,
You can continue.
the first step is to try to understand how this system works, to grasp its real nature in all its subtlety, in order then to work out a line of action that can lead to women's total emancipation. In other words, in order to win this battle that men and women have in common, we must be familiar with all the aspects of the woman question on a world scale and here in Burkina. We must understand how the struggle of the Burkinabe woman is part of a worldwide struggle of all women and beyond that, part of the struggle for the full rehabilitation of our continent. Thus, women's emancipation is at the heart of the question of humanity itself, here and everywhere. The question is thus in character. Women's fate is bound up with that of an exploited male. However, this solidarity must not blind us in looking at the specific situation faced by women folk in our society. It is true that the woman worker and simple man are exploited economically, but the worker wife is also condemned further by silence by her worker husband. This is the same method used by men to dominate over other men. The idea was crafted that certain men, by virtue of their family origin and birth, or by divine rights, were superior to others. From the first beginning of human history, I'll just leave that. I'll just find a place there. Okay, so he talked a lot about, what must be done. Okay, so inequality can be done away with only by establishing a new society where men and women will enjoy equal rights, resulting from an upheaval in the means of production and in all social relations. Thus, the status of women will improve only with the elimination of the system that exploits them. So what Sankara was a brilliant guy, and of course he recognized that, there was a system in place to exploit both men and women, but women especially. And the only way that women's rights would be upheld to the level of men's rights was if that system that was holding these oppressive mechanisms was destroyed, right? So as much as we say that we've had talks here where we talked about the presence of a father figure or the husband or the man, we talked about a lot to do with family here. But then the system that is holding inequality between men and women in place is actually called patriarchy. Yes, so that is the thing that is causing a lot of suffering to many women across the world. And it's incredible that Sankara was able to identify this very long time ago. But then if you tell people that, we need to do away with patriarchy, they will look at you like you're crazy. Why would we do away with a system that ensures that the man is the head of the house and keeps the house in order? It does not make sense. But then people who understand inequalities properly, they do realize that the number one thing is that the system that holds women down, that stops women from progressing at the same rate as men, has to be dismantled for us to have equality or equity, equitable contribution or distribution of, resources between men and women. Now, okay, so finally what he said, her status overturned by private property, banished banished from her very self, relegated to the role of child raiser and servant, written out of history by philosophy, okay, and the most entrenched religions, stripped of all work by mythology, woman shared the lot of a slave, who in slave society was nothing more than a beast of burden with a human face. These are the clever words of Thomas Sankara. And I think just now, when I thought about how I could actually look at, the issue of gender from an African perspective, I thought, gender is not so Western, it's not so foreign. The idea of gender equality is not as foreign as we want to make it be. It is very entrenched in the African, belief of the African man. I mean, which greater African man is above Thomas Sankara? We've got Nelson Mandela, we've got Patrice Lumumba, but imagine a man who was as virtuous, as incredibly good looking, incredibly talented, as Thomas Sankara, and incredibly humble. He was a very humble man. If you look at the house that he was living in, even though he was ahead of state, you're just like, this is the total embodiment of perfection in an African male, Thomas Sankara. All right. So if he himself identified that women were treated to the level of slaves, in the African society, and he also identified the fact that inequality can be done away with only by establishing a society, a new society, where men and women will enjoy equal rights. If he was able to identify that so long ago, over 30 years ago, then perhaps we need to rethink our own programming of what the role of women and men are. Because if we rethink our programming, then we are able to approach this question in a more humane and more accepting way. We will see equality as something good, rather than something that is challenging male position. Because right now, when you talk about equality, we are tempted to think that what we are trying to do is challenge men, but that's not really what we are trying to do. We are trying to elevate women, because we know that African women live in deplorable states. And in terms of the one thing I talked about with the distribution of wealth, there is no proper distribution of wealth in African societies. Men are very wealthy in comparison to women. Women work the hardest, I must say, but then own the least in terms of property, right? And what our cultural practices ensure that women remain at that place of child or slave, to the master male, So if you are going to own property, it will be property that is owned by your husband. The name of the property will be your husband's name. And then, so I don't know what you guys think about that, first of all, before I continue.
No, I think actually this is true, because we had actually highlighted this before you came in. And we were talking about how most of, like you've said, patriarchy, most of what we know now is what we've been taught before, and it has been passed on. And in the case of the distribution of wealth, as you have said, it is something that unless your father owns or your husband owns, and then it will automatically come to you as the next of kin, but not without opposition from his brothers, from his family, and again, from women who are bent and who have inherited that soul or spirit of patriarchy, as you have said. So I agree with you that we totally have to rethink and reprogram our minds, and we talked about this when we started, that it is change that we have to choose to consistently do every day.
Correct. So it is
interesting.
Yes. So I don't know, Patrick, do you want to say something before I continue? I mean,
yes,
it is
maybe like David saying, maybe the question I should push, which maybe many men, there is someone who texted me and then he said, why do we actually need to have affirmative action, whereas we are talking about equality, where women can actually go out there, seek this position, whether it's a job position, whether it's leadership, anything, equally the same way men fight it out. So why is it like we want maybe to have affirmative action to women?
Yeah.
Maybe you can address that.
I think the first thing, first of all, is that you cannot have a race between a turtle and of the hare and the tortoise. The race between the hare and the tortoise, yeah. And then you expect the turtle, to first of all get to the finish point at the same time as the hare, without the hare having rested by the tree, So the only reason the turtle made it to the end point was because the hare, took a nap under the tree. We know the story of the hare and the tortoise. Yeah. Now, if it had been that the hare and the tortoise started the race at the same time and did not stop, both of them did not stop, the hare could have made it, many hours before the tortoise. And then the other thing is that if you are starting a race, that's the reason why we need affirmative action. You are starting from a point, whereas women will start from, say, 50 yards back, most of the time men are starting that race 100 yards ahead, They have the privilege of being male. There's something called male privilege, Now, male privilege is a universal thing. However, if you come to the Western world, there is also Western male privilege, which is more superior to the African male privilege. Now, male privilege, the reason why we need affirmative action is because you're talking about inequality, right? Now, the way that the inequality has come in place is systemic, It is the systems that have worked very well to disadvantage women, all right? Whether through denying women access to education, all right? Denying women access to, time, okay, to better themselves. Women are still the main caregivers in the homes. And poorer society, the poorer the society is, the more women are not only the caregivers, but the breadwinners. All right. So in more and more poorer societies, the people who are actually feeding families are actually women, not men. So for that reason, when you're going to decide, okay, so there is this position in government that we need to fill in, but then we know we've got 4 positions. We need 2 men and 2 women. I know most of the time it's maybe one that, in affirmative action, a scenario where there's affirmative, you'll find that there is 1 position for women and then 3 positions for men, right? Now, if you let a situation whereby everyone just fought for those posts, then you will end up with 4 men, right, getting the positions when there is no woman who's gotten it, because the system is against the woman getting that position. The system is, everything is against them. So that's why you need affirmative action. Equality is good, but there are already systemic inequalities in place that will make it impossible for women to, compete, with men. They're starting from a different point. The start point for women is completely different than for men, right? So that's why we need affirmative action. The problem with affirmative action is that, we do not use, I don't think it's properly put into practice. I don't think so. I don't know your experience with it, Daisy. Is it properly put in practice, even in terms of recruitment or distribution of wealth or, representative positions in government? Is it really put in place properly, affirmative action in Kenya, for instance?
Thank you for the question. And my answer would be no, it is not. Because the moment, like you said, if the positions are 4, if there was affirmative action, it would be equal, 2-2. But you find that either it's 3-1 or sometimes even 4, all of them are male. This position, you call a friend who possibly suit this position, or somebody in the higher power of influence who's a man will call their son or their family to get that position, and then these other positions normally here are given on a balance of tribe. you know, to kind of maintain that our people need to hold this position. And our people also bring in their people who are their people, their tribe,
Yes.
and
Yes.
friends of their tribe, rather than, is this person able to perform in this position better?
Yes, yes. So I'm just confirming. I'm just making sure. I've just gotten a call. I thought maybe that was from my doctor. Yes. So that's the thing. You know, we've got that issue of tribalism and also that, and nepotism as well. So you'll find that there is no proper. It's all about the system in place. If the system is rotten, it's really hard to to make sure that some of these things are properly done. But we still need equality, gender equality. We do need that because we need our sisters in Kenya and our sisters around the world to have the same opportunities as men, because that is the way that we have progress as a society. What Sankara said that I did not read, I did not find that particular line, was that if a society really wanted to be prosperous, right? It would invest in women equality, right? Women equality. It would invest in making sure that women were lifted up to the level of men, because he identified, the kind of gift that women have. Women will use the least resources to get the most, out of it, So women we've got this gift of recreating. We can create a lot with very little, right? So that's that if we tap onto that resource, we can actually progress really well. Yes, Patrick.
All right, good. Good to see Simon following this conversation. He's also maybe a champion of this kind of things. Nice to see you, Simon. Great. So I want to ask you, Jackie, in terms of actually advancing the woman agenda, maybe the women agenda, there's always been a question about also maybe the men agenda being left behind. The boy child rights are not being catered off. And especially when we talk about empowering the men, it has been a tricky balance, because you can find maybe in the corporate world, the women are expanding maybe their territories, whereas we have the men are shrinking their territories. Now the question becomes, like in terms of even education, you can actually see that maybe the women are actually excelling more, the girl child is excelling more rather than the boys, how they used to excel before. So do you see these as being maybe a challenge? As actually we empower more women, it also becomes a challenge actually that we actually maybe leaving the boy child behind.
Now I think that tends to be wow. Sorry guys, sorry. Can I close my so I think it's a doctor. My doctor is calling. Patrick, can I answer this call, please? I apologize. Yeah, is that okay?
Sure, you can answer. Yeah, please
so
take it. So maybe
cover that.
Hello?
Sorry?
You can cover that. Yeah, please cover it.
Hold on, Lydia, I'm actually live right now discussing.
Mute her mic.
Yes.
So I'm thinking, Patrick, here's the thing though. I'm very big when it comes to men empowerment as well, because a lot of the empowerment I have and a lot of who I am is because of the influence of my father, actually telling me that even though it looks like you cannot be there, you can be there, that same influence. So I really don't believe that when you say, I don't believe that you have to, some women assume that simply because we are calling for gender equality, it means we want to do away with the men, or the whole concept of feminism is doing away with men. No, there are actually men in the system, people who are in the system who are willing to break the chain of patriarchy together with us. So this is something that we ought to tap into together. For example, now, the kind of economy that we live in, most of the households that we live in do not allow for one income to support a whole family like it was before. So this is where I believe now it needs to take both the man and the woman to come together and sit down and agree with what is comfortable for them. you know, for both, so that one again does not feel like somebody is being unequal to me. He or she took the simpler duties and left the hard ones for me. So it comes to that place where you come in agreement and you realize that we want what's best for our family. We want to do something that again our children and their children's children are going to benefit from. So how do we together collectively come together to ensure that we see through these goals? And that's also another part of equality that makes some people uncomfortable when they hear that, because we already have stereotypes, you know, men have to provide and women have to stay at home. And you see that this narrative has to change, because if you go to the Bible in Proverbs 31, you find that the Proverbs 31 woman also works. You know, it says she makes sure that whatever resources she has, she molds it to fit her family. So Proverbs 31 also says that women have to work and take care of their families, but it has to be done collectively, with the man as the head and the woman as the support system.
Thank you. That's interesting. But Jackie, can you address that question? And then I'll bring Alphonse to ask you a question.
Right. Okay. So very, very quickly, your question was whether by empowering women, we also need to empower men. Right. Now, that's where it gets mucky. And I'm going to tell you why. All right. And I'm going to be super, super honest. Right. When it comes to gender equality, the person who needs to be empowered is the woman, not the man. All right. Because the understanding, the initial understanding is that men are ahead of women, all right? So for that reason, we are trying to bring women to the level of men. And you cannot do that by also continuing to push men ahead while women continue to lag behind. It does not make sense. You understand? Yeah. So that's why, I've seen this same argument a lot in many forums, you know, where people, especially people who are disgruntled with the idea of women being empowered, and people who hate the idea of feminism. They will say that, oh, the boy child, how about the boy? Everything is for the girl child. Everything is, you know, if boys want to wear pads, sanitary towels, then they should go ahead and take the sanitary towels and wear them, because some of these projects are simply to help women access sanitary towels, you know. So they're not being given money. No one is dishing out money to girls. Someone is just saying, oh, you're a girl, you miss school 3 days every month because of your periods. We are going to get rid of that problem. We are going to give you sanitary towels, you know. So basically, this idea of the boy child also needing empowerment, it is ludicrous. And also the other thing is that, of course, there is an overall general provision for both boys and girls, a standard provision for both boys and girls. So no one is really leaving boys behind. The only thing that, because girls are constantly left behind, and we see in terms of, you know, accumulation of, you know, the gap, the inequality, the wealth distribution between boys and girls, you know, and of course, women becoming poorer and poorer and poorer. We have to say we need to put in a bit more effort to try and push women up. Guess what? In Kenya today, married women, only 5% of them have any kind of property in their names. You know, 95% of married women do not have even a single title deed in their names. Can you believe that? You know, so that's how bad it is. You know, men are ahead. Men own all the property, and men are the ones with the money, you know. So that's why we need to really rethink this boy child argument, because it belittles, it reduces, you know, this important agenda of trying to get girls moving at the same pace as boys. Yes, Alphonse.
I'm amused.
Maybe before Alphonse, you know, you touched this somewhere. You have said that maybe men are the ones who own title deeds, but I want to bring Sylvester's argument on that. He's saying actually, when it comes to opportunities and employment, the ratio is almost 1-to-1, if not 1-to-2. So if that's the case, then why are women not owning properties?
So in terms of employment, what kind of employment? So 1-to-2, can he be specific whether 1-to-2 is 2 women to 1 man because
Yeah.
that's false. Can you
let me rephrase. Like you see, yeah, if we are talking about healthcare, you might find that's the ratio. If we go to corporate, you might find actually that's the ratio.
Yeah.
If we are talking about corporate, if we go to insurance, mostly that's the ratio. So the question
Yes.
comes. So if we are saying that women, almost the
I think
ratio is that.
Patrick, what Jackie wants to hear is when you're saying 1 to 2, who is this 2 and who is the 1? Who are many?
Yeah.
Are they the males or the
So
females?
1
That's
to
the
1 is
no,
is
not 1
one
to 1, 1 to 2.
one.
There's a quoted
Okay.
of 1 to 2.
The other one
Which means
is
one.
if not 1. So 2 is assumed to be a man. I'm hoping that's
So,
what
and that's what Jackie has said. It is not true. And it's in this show that we agreed that more females are employed in whatever sector, including the farming sector.
Yeah.
Whether formal or informal. It's women who are more in employment than men. Is that
corrected?
I think
okay? If you
Sylvester has
corrected, then the
corrected.
corrected version is wrong.
Said it's women who are in.
There are more women employed than men. Is that?
It's not wrong, Alphonse. You know, it's not wrong.
No. That I'm saying, is there somebody disputing that
okay,
more
let me
women
define
are
these
working
jobs.
than men? Is there somebody disputing that in this panel? Before we go outside the panel,
What? Disputing?
More women.
No.
When we are talking of employment, more women are employed.
Yeah.
Yeah, more women are employed than men.
Yeah, than men.
Okay.
Right. But then it depends. Yeah, that's correct. So the question is, what kind of a type of employment?
All of them,
because
all types of employment. That is
what I mean is level, quality. Because what we know is that
apart from the few top management, the rest, that means middle level managers, lower level managers, the clerical, and other lower cadres below clerical staff. Women are more, including in the farms. In fact, in the farms, it is 75%. It's in the farms in Kenya.
So why are women? The question is
75%.
Yes.
Women.
Right. So therefore, Alphonse, why do you think women don't have, wealth the same amount as men when they are just as employed as men?
Because the energy being used to solve a problem is creating another problem. So when you have a hole and you are told kindly ensure that this hole is filled, if you insist, and which the Jackie's argument, which is the common argument, and it's well orchestrated from 1995, particularly after Beijing Declaration.
Yes.
That you must now have another hole being dug so that you get that soil to fill the existing hole. Now, what you're not hearing is the fact that after you have filled the existing hole, which you have filled several times, you have another hole now to fill again. Now, the issue of women empowerment, I think the key things we must understand, and we must be very honest. When you're talking of empowerment, definitely you're not talking of sanitary parts of towels. So that issue that the men can also put the sanitary parts if they want. No, we are not talking about that.
Oh, we are.
It was just like a sample scenario, Alphonse.
No. Jackie is right. What Jackie is saying is what is the right doctrine about empowerment of women. That part of that empowerment is that sanitary pad.
It is.
That is the doctrine. Now,
that is the doctrine. Yes.
Yes, that is the doctrine. I have heard it. I have listened to it. I have read about it, and it is true that way. However, I am saying that if we insist that that is the doctrine, then we are likely to lose the entire problem that we are supposed to be solving. Because the truth is...
Why do we lose it? Why? Yeah.
Because, you see, I have sisters, my age mates. We were born in the same place. Now, when they are being empowered, I also have my biological needs, which nobody even knows, leave alone even discusses. Yeah, as a boy. Now, I've been growing up knowing that men must take care of themselves. My sister is growing up knowing that she must be taken care of, if not by society, by her own family members. But also, as we are growing up, I am growing up knowing that I'm advantaged. The type of advantage, I have no idea. But I am growing up knowing that I'm more advantaged than my sister. Now, what we need to know
why
is
would
that,
you not have an idea of your advantage?
Because you see,
How do
the
you not know
idea,
about your advantage?
the idea is passed on by the adults
Mhm.
and by the proponents. It's adults and the proponents that gives you the idea that you pass on to the next team of younger people. I have young girls. Me, I don't have a boy. I have only
you
girls.
So you don't recognize your own advantage. So you cannot recognize your own advantage.
It
in
is,
African
it is imaginary, Jackie. It is not there.
Oh, come on, Alphonse.
Okay, let me come on. Let me come on and let you know. One, we were going to school. I was a very bright and needy student. But I also had a classmate who was very bright and needy, and is a lady.
Mm-hmm.
Now, where I grew up, I used to take care of the home chores. So I know how to cook, and I used to cook. Not in fact, when I'm with my sister, I used to do the cooking. But when we go to school, I hear that it's my sister who cooks at home. So I started, that is a contest I have even to date, because I did it, I saw it. I saw my elder brother do it. In fact, if you look at my elder brother and my elder sister, who is younger to him, my elder sister has a problem cooking, my elder brother does not have. We are talking of the same environment in this case.
Yeah.
But when we hear the doctrine out there, we hear that my sister is the one who cooks or fetches the water more than we do.
Okay. So when you were walking in your market, right, in the afternoon, for instance, right?
Yeah.
Did you have girls trying to whistle you down, and you know
Correct.
what I mean? Flag you down and all that. Did you
Yes.
have girls trying to flag you down and have a conversation and get
Girls
on with you?
Girls were not flagging us down. It is boys who are flagging girls down.
There you go. Right.
Yes.
So why then are you not able, first of all, just from that little concept, why are you not able to identify your own privilege as a man?
What is
just
the privilege
from the idea, the privilege there is that, you are in a place of more safety, just first of all, in terms of, predatory behavior from the opposite sex. You
see,
that's your first advantage as male. That's your male privilege. That's the number one male privilege that you have, that myself as a woman, I don't have.
I was lost. Am I back?
Yeah,
you're back.
You can continue.
Okay. I was saying what we need to recognize, number one, is human beings are animals, biologically speaking, right?
Right. So who deals with this animal behavior? Who deals with it more? Who deals with the consequences of that animalistic nature of human beings?
Jackie, we must agree that we are animals. So all our behaviors are animalistic behavior, whether they are female behavior or male behavior. They are animals. We are in the animal kingdom. It is not. It is not something that we can argue about.
Women don't jump men. Women don't jump men and rape them and gang rape them.
Okay, so what you are saying is that if that was reported today, you will disagree with it that it happens.
That 50 women, or rather 5 women, raped a man until he died.
Yeah, if that was reported to you today, you will not agree with it, or you have never heard of it.
The question is,
yes,
when did you hear of such a report? That's the question.
Happened. It has happened. By the way, Jackie, Jackie, that's why I'm saying we need to be honest with this discussion.
It has happened. Alphonse, it has happened, yes. I'm asking you, when did you hear a news article about 5 women, right, raping a man until he died, Alphonse? Be honest.
By the way, it can't be news. Even if it is reported, it will not be taken serious.
No. If you're talking about honesty, you also have to be honest.
Thank you. And that I'm saying that even if it is reported, and we have had cases, and I know individuals who have reported, and they are laughed at for reporting.
They were raped by 5 women, and they died, and they came back to report that they had been raped by 5 women.
No, you see, I think we are losing it here.
We are not losing it. That is male privilege. That is the idea of male privilege.
By the way,
you are not being jumped by 5 men. You going to visit your boyfriend in his apartment, or he already put together his 7 friends, right? You don't know that you're walking into a trap, right? In that apartment, you are raped and you are killed.
All right, so guys, I want to move this conversation forward.
No,
Alphonse.
Patrick just say, let's take
Patrick, by the way,
yes,
Okay.
see,
continue.
moving the conversation will not assist, because
Okay.
there are issues that need to be addressed, and Jackie put them clearly. They are systemic issues.
Mhm.
Yeah, and these issues are the ones we don't have genuine conversations around.
Yeah, but
Now,
you have to be genuine yourself, Alphonse,
correct,
because if
correct.
you have not found a man not acknowledging their main privilege, the first thing you have to do if you're going to talk about gender
Yes.
is to acknowledge your point of privilege.
What I'm
I
telling
am
you.
middle class. I am middle-class woman, well-educated woman living in the first world, right? Earning in terms of Kenyan shillings, 500,000 and more, right, each month.
Correct.
I have to acknowledge that first. That's when I'm honest. You have to be honest first.
And that's what I'm telling you. And can we go slowly? Because you see, this has been made several times. This discussion has become very emotive. And the reason why it's emotive is because we have 1,001 programs to make my daughters become better girls, as young as they are, all the way. If you have a son today, the first thing you'll have a problem is even how to raise that son yourself.
Yeah.
Why would you have a problem with that? Why?
Because the society has so much embraced, in the name of we don't want to fight, we have embraced so much so-called this gender empowerment, and gender is female. You're getting it. When we raise that gender, it looks like, and they insist that the word gender means male and female. But anytime, any context you hear the word gender, the truth of the matter, it's we're talking about lady. That is the truth. Now, once we talk about the lady, the question is, you can't be privileged by birth. If it's by birth, then there's nothing you're going to correct. And you see,
So you cannot be privileged by birth.
Yes, and if it is by birth, then you cannot correct it.
What world are you living in?
Alphonse,
Yes.
But
Alphonse.
anyway, I understand Alphonse's argument. The argument is actually, let me just bring it up this way. Actually, the same argument as Sylvester is putting forward, but let me rephrase it. We are saying, Alphonse is saying, if we put a lady with the same factors with a guy, actually, maybe the same education, the same factors of production, which is the same environment that they grew in, when it comes maybe to opportunities, actually is a woman who might have better chances than a man. Who will have. You get? Now the question comes to you, Jackie. So what is making the women not do that and get those opportunities like the system seems to favor them?
Patrick, you see, before even Jackie responds, I said it here when Jackie disagreed with me, that between age 18 and 35 of the Kenyan young adults, the ladies are using their money better in terms of investment than the men, including buying property. They buy more than the men. So where that argument comes that now men end up having more property, because you see, there's the category of my father who was born in the 40s. It's totally different from a category of me who was born in 80s. Totally different. Now, the difference was brought by this empowerment story. Now, the problem with the empowerment story
and
is...
my empowerment story did not bring the difference. You need to stop blaming the idea of pushing for equality of women,
I want you to listen. I want you to listen, because you see...
I will listen, but you are saying...
This discussion, we always don't want to listen to the narrative I'm raising, because the narrative you're raising is a narrative that must go through come what may. So that type of narrative is what I want us to do. One of the things I want us to manage here is the fact that we have another narrative, because there's power in the story. If we are not covering the story of the boy, so there's no way out we will understand the story of this boy. Now, when this boy has a story that is untold, then the only told story becomes the girl's story, and it becomes true. So who is narrating the story of the boy, so that we can compare these two stories? And if the girl's story is through research, then we also need a boy's story through research. But if you give me a story that was created through research, and then the boy's story is not, there's no research funded, because there's no even funding if you want to do that research today. You will not be given a fund to study about the boy.
The reason why, Alphonse, you will not be given funds for that, because it is a pointless exercise to take part in. right? The reason why it's pointless is because girls are still more disadvantaged than boys. You know, there is no inequality between the two sexes. What I said about ownership of property was that 5% of women in marriage, in marital unions, only 5% of them have property in their names. Now, you are exposed to women who are perhaps, working really hard. And when you investigate and find out who owns that property, you will find that the property is not really in their name. It's in the husband's name. And if it is somebody, you see them working really hard and buying property, they may be single women, they may not be in marital unions. There is still this disparity between, there's no proper distribution of property between women and men. Imagine 5% out of 95.
Now, this is the question, Jackie. This is the question. What percentage of the empowered women are actually in marital unions compared to those ones who are not empowered, now that we have those two categories among women?
Right. So that I don't know whether you want to allude to the fact that women get empowered and don't stay in marriages. I don't know why you asking that question, because
I'm asking that because I've given a category of people age 18 to 35.
Yes.
Which typically is the marital age for both male and female.
Yes.
Now, the people who have been empowered, this empowerment has been more aggressive in 80s, 90s, and in 2000s. And therefore, the people who are born in 80s are the majority of those who are empowered in 90s and in 2000s.
Yes.
So as a result, also, these are the majority of the people who are now single parent by choice because they can't fit into a marital union. Is that
Alphonse, your ideology is very dangerous. No, your ideology.
And the reason behind that, and the reason is because when you are empowering my sister, you are not empowering the person that they're supposed to be getting married by. So you find that gap exists. And
that one I don't agree with.
Now I can listen to you.
That's why I'm laughing. I'm like, what?
Alphonse, you need to go find a person.
So
Alphonse, Alphonse, but anyway, let me just say something. Let me tell you, in terms of equality, I'm just going to go straight.
I wanted Jackie to address that issue about the factors. Yeah. If we raise, let's put Alphonse and Daisy, right? Today, raising them in the same house, same everything, and then they have the same opportunities to go to school, to go to maybe to the job market. Who has better chances than the other?
Right. I will use my story to highlight this. All right. Now, I was born of a well-off parent, a well-off father, right, who owned property and owned a lot of land. Right now, I am in my early 40s, and I don't have any single piece of property or anything, any inheritance from my father. Right, all the inheritance, I can claim it because I'm allowed by law. However, there is a cultural problem there. What am I going to do? How am I going to approach my family and ask them, oh, can I have 10 acres of land here, please? They'll find it laughable. In fact, they will mock me for doing that. That's the first disadvantage that women have. They have no. There is no system in place to allow them to automatically get property from their spouses or from their husbands. Even if the spouse was to die, the husband was to die, or from their fathers. If the husband was to die today, you'll find there is still another tussle, in the community. The brothers to this man thinking that the woman has no right to their brother's property, whereas she lived with the man for 20 years. She's earned the right, even if she didn't work for them, she's earned the right to that property, by law. So basically, so that's one factor, there is no system in place, because if they're saying, oh, women can get the same, can now inherit land, they need to be specific on how it needs to be done. If there are if those are not provided for in the law, then we are still disadvantaged. We cannot, because there is the cultural barrier. We will not insist on getting the land, you know.
Yeah,
but it was provided for in a way that the succession, the way that the succession process or you know, the way, I mean, it was a clear subdivision process in place. I mean, we knew that automatically the land will transfer to 5 children without any problem. That would be a different case. Alphonse, what do you want to say before I continue?
Yeah, first of all, I think you have brought a line that now we will not argue. Using the illustration and the example you have used of land. Now, my point of view, the argument I was bringing is, it will be easier if you empowered the man to understand why they need to share the land with their sister than empowering the lady to go and demand for the land. That is going to be a bigger tussle for a longer time. That's where I'm coming from. So if this man is only left with everything they see, because that's what I'm seeing, and I'm telling you what I've seen, even if anybody else disagrees with me in my environment, I've seen ladies that I've defeated in my class being given scholarship, and I'm denied because they are ladies, not because they performed better than me. I have seen when you're going to university. When I went to university, from the same class, this lady who was living with the mother, and I was living in my own rental house, meaning I had more difficult conditions than her. She's qualifying to go to university with 64 points when the males with 64 cannot qualify for the same university. But they were in the same class. They were in the same class.
Can you then go back to the number of men who qualified with the higher points for university in comparison to the number of women? Can you not see the point in this? Affirmative action is very important. Equal access to both boys and girls. I mean, why is that so difficult for you to understand?
Can we therefore agree that the ladies are inferior, so that equal access means you reduce everything about them?
Because you reduce everything about men to allow women to have access.
No, you reduce everything about women so that they can be accessed to. Because if we're in the same class, these ladies are in a boarding section. I'm in the day schooling section in the same school. She has paid her school fees in full. I am ever sent home for school fees. Then we are taught by the same teacher at the same time, the same class, everything the same. So explain to me what exactly makes this lady disadvantaged? Why she must go with 64?
What makes this lady disadvantaged, first of all, is that that's the lady you're seeing. Behind that lady, there are a million other ladies who did not get as far as that classroom of yours. Do you understand? Right? So there is another lady who maybe in secondary school, you're around 16 years old, 17 years old. There is a lady at 17, maybe another 500,000 women at 17 who are now on their 4th child. You know, they're having their 4th child. Do you see how complex this is? So that's why this is why there has to be more access for women, because then we bring that number down. You understand? Right? Men will still be more advantaged than women.
Okay.
Because
Jackie,
of
there's a question.
It's mainly cultural. Yeah.
Jackie, you'll have to address this, yeah? And this is about the same factors, same everything. And Sylvester is saying, so actually, which is true, statistics from Kenya even is saying the equality is a scapegoat. Statistics in America show that women graduated with master's and bachelor's program many women compared to men. If you go to SACCOs, more women are enrolled in SACCOs than men. Check bank loans, more women are borrowers than men. So what are they doing with their money? The same question.
Yeah,
so
okay.
If you are talking about these properties, where are they taking their money?
Shall I talk about American women? American women are much more educated than American men. I mean, in terms of postgraduate education, right? And that's something that has been highlighted a lot lately, especially Black American women. Yeah, they're definitely more educated than Black American men, right? And of course, because of social, mainly some issues to do with, the way that the American system works, and then, that American Black male face, which is a threat to America, to law enforcement and all that. But then the thing is, you guys are talking about urbanized women, you know, so urban women mostly. And of course, can you read the comment you said about Kenya, please? I've forgotten that.
Yeah, he said about more women have, okay, Daisy.
Also, he was saying if you go to SACCOs, more women are enrolled in SACCOs more than men. Check bank loan borrowers, more women are borrowers than men. So what are they doing with their money? So you'll address this and then I'll answer because I have a particular answer for him.
Right. So basically, again, the issue here is not about a matter of, you know, whether women have access to, you know, the resources. It's a matter of how many women have access to these resources in comparison to the women who don't have access, you know, because in the same breath, I don't know what his name is, more women in other areas of the nation, right, don't even have a mobile phone, all right, and don't even have access to a bank account. You understand? So then again, I mean, we are focusing on the women we see in front of us, but the idea of affirmative action and the idea of access and gender equality is all about those women who are, you know, who are voiceless and faceless. You know, that's the point. And that's why Alphonse's stance is very dangerous because, you know, he is completely ignoring all the other women who need this, you know, concessions. There are many women who need these concessions. A woman doing her exams in a hardship school in Turkana, you know, I will take that woman even with a D, you know, I will take that woman into university. I will, you know. So I'm sorry, Alphonse. I mean, that's just the reality. You know, women are still advantaged.
You know, Jackie, let me hold so that Daisy can talk. But you see, the good thing with the things I'm raising, first I grew up in the village. The first time I came to Nairobi, I was coming to University of Nairobi for studies.
You grew up in Nyanza. You did not grow up in Turkana, did you?
I didn't grow up in Nyanza. Neither did I grow up in Turkana. I grew up in Western.
There you go.
I actually saw the Tomac Road the first time I saw it when I was taking my brother to go and board a vehicle after class 8.
Good experience.
Yeah, after
good
class
experience
8. So using the bicycle, I was to come back with the bicycle. I had now known how to ride it. So I was taking him all the way to Mumias town, which was the nearest town from home. And that's how I saw the Tarmac Road. What I call Tarmac Road that time, when I now see what people call Tarmac Road today, it's totally different because it was just black. It's not that the road was actually existing. Now, that aside, I have been to Turkana. I've done community work in Turkana. I've done it in Samburu. Yeah, I have rescued women and ladies, to be specific, including in 2018 in Laikipia here, a girl who got 368 marks and got married off. I was called by that principal in one of the day schools there because I was partnering with several teachers.
Can you just stop 1 minute before you continue?
Hold a minute. Now, when
listen, you're continuing. But what I'm trying to tell you is, right, that you clearly have rescued a girl who got 368 and was married off.
Correct.
That's all I want to do.
By the grandmother and mother.
Remember that. Continue.
Yeah, they were married off by the grandmother and mother. Now, I also rescued a gentleman.
Yeah, because grandmothers and mothers, you know, they are the biggest custodians of patriarchy. You know, patriarchy is mainly held up by women. You know, women are the biggest prefects of patriarchy.
The gatekeepers.
Right? So, the gatekeepers of patriarchy. Continue.
The same year, I also rescued a young man who had gotten 386. Yeah, in Malindi, in a place called Marafa, and could not go to school because he was the only one taking care of the grandmother who was ailing. The parents have died, and he has some other siblings. Now, I was not even having money, but I had a lot of desire and heart, which I still do to date. So somebody who gave me the story, we confirmed the story is true. I sent somebody to the Marafa Secondary School, which is the next nearby school. They agreed on condition that we pay some money. So if we can raise the money for day school, because I wanted the boy to be taken in the boarding section so that he can concentrate, and then we see how to take care of the grandmother, so that after 4 years we will have given him an advantage that he can take care of this family shortly after. Now, my experience in this, what we refer to as rural areas, and particularly the northern frontier in this country, is both the males and the females are endangered and extremely endangered. But because the danger, extremely endangered, but because the danger is borne by the shoulder of the boy when they're still very young, that is why now they are more susceptible not to sexual predation. Because when you talk of sexual predation, the ladies will be more endangered. But
so why are you reducing? Why are you reducing this?
I have not reduced. I have not reduced at all. What I am
you've
for.
Actually you've put them, the sexual predatory, at the same level of the burden on a boy's shoulder. You've literally brought sexual predatory behavior at the same level. I mean, the sexual, the advances that women, the problems that women get, the rape, early marriage, FGM, all those, you put them in the same level as the burden on a boy's shoulder.
Correct.
Why?
Because the burden is the burden. If you address one burden and don't address the other one, then that place remains with the burden. In fact, in psychology, if somebody feels that they are being attacked, then the only thing they have is to defend. Feels they are being attacked.
If somebody feels that they are being attacked,
then the only thing they have.
They feel that they're being attacked.
Yes. Then the only thing they have. Yes. The only thing they have is to defend themselves. Now, in this case, the thing that I'm interested in, Jackie, I'm very interested in, if we were to make major progress.
Alphonse, you need to talk about that more, because the way that you've reduced the suffering of women is not right. It's not right. When you are a young 8-year-old girl or 9-year-old girl being beaded and being cut, FGM, or your clitoris being chopped off, and your body being mutilated in readiness for an early marriage ceremony, right? That is violation. Okay, that is physical violation, and of course you are also at risk of predatory behavior from men as well. You can be raped as a young girl. You can get pregnant at 11 years old. The teachers are also after you. Male teachers are also trying to rape you all the time. So for you to reduce that to the level of a boy having to look after his goats or his grandmother, that is something that we need to address, Alphonse. I don't think
let me quickly there. Let me just be quick so that
Daisy wants to say something.
Daisy wants to say something, and then
let Alphonse finish, and then I'll say something.
Yeah. My issue, if you are to stick to that one lane of sexual behavior and the issue of FGM that you are raising, is if you went to that society and you had a program to talk to these men, all ages of these men, not abandoning what we are doing for the lady, but you also have a program for these men to understand why they must change this, then to me that will give us results more than you have nothing for these men and you have a program for these ladies. Then you discover that these men feel that there's something being taken away from them, whether you are right or wrong. That notwithstanding, what they will be saying is somebody is coming to fight us. But if they were taken to a point where they agree, by the way, this needs to stop. I need to know how to fight for my sister. I need to know how that the way my sister, I don't want my sister to go through this. I also don't want somebody's sister to go through that. If I am the perpetrator, you must bring me to a point of knowledge.
So your understanding, Alphonse, is that perpetrators, all perpetrators need is people to go talk to them about their behavior.
You must have a proper program, because this is you can't solve a problem in a community by addressing one side of the community. That is my understanding.
Sure. I would like Daisy say something and then we move.
Okay, Daisy. Thank you. Now, Jackie had an amazing analogy when we started this discussion about the hare, and the only reason that the tortoise won the race is because the hare decided to sleep under a tree. Now this is my take on everything. Now we already have, as women, we already know that the system does not favor us, and it dates back from years before. The system already does not favor us. This is something that already exists. But now here's the thing. If we want to change the system, we have to have people in the system who think the same as us and who are willing to hold our hands through in order to change the system. Because no matter how much you shout at the system, if the system does not agree with what you want to do or the change you want to bring, then it will not budge. It will not change, you know. But if we have people in the system whom we can call friends, who are willing to make these amendments to accommodate us as men and as women, then I think this whole change of the system and the fall of patriarchy would come. So now, number one, as we begin to raise our own children, or as we begin to raise women, we need to realize that sometimes, yes, as we begin to empower either both men or women, there are still people who will refuse to come on board, either as men or women. There are people who are just rigid and who are too comfortable in their ignorance that if you tell them you need to come out, they will not come out. Now, to go to Sylvester's question about, he says, if you go to SACCOs, more women are enrolled in SACCOs than men. I'll go back to, again, what Jackie said in the beginning. Number one, women can do a lot with a little. And SACCOs identified that, and they tapped into that as a form of empowering the little women have in order to make a lot. And you find that now from the SACCOs now, a lot of women, and this is where she was saying, we have at least a percentage of women who are benefiting from the SACCO and who are creating something for their lives. Again, this kind of change is not for every man or for every woman. And the reason SACCOs are there is because most of the bank, like you said, most of the women can't gain access to funds in banks. And that is why we have banks like Stanbic, which have created a platform like, it's called Dada by Stanbic Bank, that is specifically for women in SME. So whether your business makes 5,000 a day or 300 million, they have created a program specifically for women because women make a lot out of a little. So I hope that answers your question on which says, so what are they doing?
Daisy, let me ask you a question. Okay, Daisy, just the same from Sylvester, and then I'll let Jackie answer the second one from Sylvester. But now, if you're saying the same, that women can make a lot from very little they get from maybe financial institutions. So why are women not owning properties? Just like you guys have said that women are not owning properties.
Right. I will again. Oh, is it you want Daisy to answer that?
Yeah, I just want us to say why, because this is Kenya, so in Kenya. So why are women not maybe owning properties?
Yeah.
Daisy.
Again, it goes back to the whole aspect that Sylvester has said. You find that if they own properties, it's not the high-end property, but at least they'll have something to their name, you know. But now here's the thing. If you're a man, it's very easy. Actually, in a bank, I've actually tested this before, and it's an experiment that we did with my boss and I, you know. So when I went to the bank and I wanted a loan of simply 325,000 to start my business, there was all these factors that needed for, you know, him for them. Do you have a car? Do you have a salary? And once they saw my salary, they are like, oh, your salary is too small and this and this and this. And then when my boss went, you know, he really just had a car. You understand, Patrick? And his payslip is also, let's not say a bit strong, but his payslip is around 150 or something. But somehow they were able to look at that, and him, it was alone to just do something personally. Mine was supposed to put in a business. So you see, already I was unfavored because simply I did not have something to cover me already. But if there was something in the system that could somehow help me as a woman and see this woman wants to do business, how can we cover her or cover this idea to ensure that even if it does not take to get our finances back?
But it's the same. It's the same factors rendered to men. I mean, you'll have to have maybe a property. You must have a certain salary. It's the same. It's not different. It cuts across.
Yes, But now I'm saying, if we had somebody in the system who favors, who understands, do you get?
But
Somebody in the
women are in
system.
the banks. They run banks. I mean, they are managers.
But how much power do they have actually? How much influence do they have?
You see,
How
one
much
day,
influence do they have?
one day we will come back to the real discussion on this matter. But there's something Jackie, for example, raised
I think
on
that one
issue of land.
was not. Nini,
There's something that Jackie raised on land. For example, me having been empowered, me now, not my sisters, because my sisters have been empowered, by the way. I have been empowered. Now, I want to use my example. My mother has one brother who is dead, 24 years ago, and he has 5 other sisters. They're all married. My mother was born in early 50s. Their last born was born in 1972. So they're all married. They're adult women in their own homesteads. Now, my grandmother is still alive. She doesn't have a son. My grandfather had 3 wives. My grandmother was the first wife. Now, the other 2 houses, there's a house that has more boys. Now, what Jackie's story is clear, correct, and culturally in tandem, because the other boy says they are the ones who are entitled to the entire estate of my grandfather. And we're talking of land here. Now, being empowered, I just told my grandmother, you don't need to fight for this. This is your land. What you need to do is, my grandfather is supposed to give his children land. So you go and list your children and take this matter to court. And I said, I will not even come. You will go with one of my uncles who is coming from this side. So go and so will take you. In case of anything, I'll follow it. The other group decided not to go because they felt by not going, they will not have consented. When we followed the process, my mother has land in their own home. Wow. You're getting it? So, and her sisters as well. At that age, they are married. They are not in their home, by the way. They are married. Now, it was my initiative to let her know what we can do, because I am empowered. Now, if you empower 10 of me and you get 3 of me doing what I've done, you will easily get more results in the process compared to if you leave me out of the process of empowerment and you empower my sisters alone. That is my take. And I agree with Daisy when she says, don't just look at one side. It is not a fight. It is enlightenment. Is
right. So if it's not a fight, right?
Yes.
Then why are you concerned with resources coming to empower young girls? Why are you concerned with that without having to empower boys? Because for you, the idea of someone coming to talk to girls and the boys not being spoken to, that's not right. So why do you have an issue with it then?
It is discriminatory.
If it's not a fight.
It is discriminatory. We don't use a discrimination to fight another discrimination.
You do. There is something we call positive discrimination, Alphonse. We do.
Okay. And that positive discrimination comes in where you say, you see now, if the issue I raised with you about the entry marks to your college, where 1 mark lower for the lady than the man. Now that is positive discrimination. It's affirmative action, and it's clear. You're getting it.
Yeah. So what's wrong with affirmative action?
There's nothing wrong with affirmative action, because it accepts the fact that we have a systemic problem, but we want to gradually manage it out. So the first, if we have 70 men and we have 30 women, we need to increase the number of women to at least 60. So every intake that we will have both taken, but more females taken. Now that is okay. Now the approach and the doctrine that the one I have resisted, and I resist it, is where we are saying stop the men here and women first fill the positions until we are having equitable level. Now,
so what's wrong with equity? What's wrong with equity? Why are you so against equity? Why?
I am against equality. I'm not against equity. Because equality will never be achieved. It has never happened. It will not happen. Equity.
Equity will. Yeah.
Equity is easier to achieve. And for us to achieve equity, both parties must know their role.
The language of sensitization is normally equality, but the idea behind it is purely equity, Alphonse, and you know it.
And
You
if
know
you use
it.
if we are using the language to communicate, how do we get the intention when the language is wrong?
But you're a smart man. You should know that what we are trying to do. We're not trying to get women, right, running a marathon in less than 2 hours, 1.59. We're not trying to do that, all right?
Right,
We are
so,
trying to get women,
thank you, Jackie.
you know, to a level where they can also compete with men.
So,
That's why I'm
Jackie,
saying,
You know,
Patrick, don't worry.
compete from a woman.
guys, I want us to handle many things in this discussion.
Patrick, don't worry. Patrick,
So-
don't worry. I can assure you a bit. Because
Okay,
you see,
you can
even when you are
move.
talking of world record in whatever race,
Mhm,
what requires muscles,
mhm,
men will always do better than women naturally.
mhm.
Before we put in the issue of effort, what requires resilience, social, psychological resilience, women will always do better than men,
Mhm.
because it is that way. So if all factors are held constant, there are things that women are better than men.
That's why we are pushing for equity,
issue-
not equality. I
Yes,
was
the
using
issue-
1.59 to confirm to you that women's empowerment movements, feminism,
Yes.
for instance, is not for equality. It is for equity, equitable, you know, that is as per the person's ability, biological ability, all right, or social ability. Do you understand? So
This is
that's
what
how you're just confirming what I was trying to tell you.
Okay, so
this is what I want to say. If I use the few words,
can you
in the same
make it
language.
brief?
Yeah, feminism will not take us anywhere, just like chauvinism will not take us anywhere.
Feminism has taken us many places in the West. So yes, it will take us somewhere. Proceed, Patrick.
Yeah, I think feminism has done a lot in Africa, personally. Without feminism,
you,
I think women rights and women issues will be very way behind. I think so. Big ups to feminists. I think they are doing good.
Thank
All right.
you, thank you. And
Anyway.
I'm actually going to take Alphonse through what feminism achieved in where I am right now, what feminism has achieved. Feminism is actually good for you, Alphonse. Let's go on, Patrick.
Yes.
I will also take you through what chauvinism has not allowed us to achieve. And that's why we need to get a place where chauvinism and feminism go away and we get something that works.
But the worst thing of all is misogyny. And I have seen elements of misogyny in these discussions. We need to kill misogyny alongside patriarchy. Let's proceed.
But to proceed, because I don't want to bring this to a halt. Otherwise, things are getting hotter here.
That's all right. So maybe Jackie will explain that maybe, but let me push this discussion forward. So Jackie, we want to go back to the aspect which Alphonse was alluding to, that maybe educated women cannot be marriageable women. It's a very tricky balance. But just the other day, I had an argument with a friend online, which she posted, and this is what she posted, and I hope she's not watching. So she said, if the man pursuing you doesn't influence you, inspire you, support, and admire you, just dump him and move on. Why have a sham marriage? She's very educated. I respect her. I love her. She's a feminist. But I felt that this particular post from her was kind of misleading. All right?
Yeah.
That's a factual post.
So she's saying, if the man pursuing you doesn't influence you, inspire you, support you, admire you, just dump him and move on. So my question is,
in fact, do it.
Why do a man need to inspire someone? And the other question is, why does a man need to influence you? Yeah. Does he has to inspire you, admire you? I mean, you're already someone, so do I need to be admiring you every day? Jackie, we are talking about equality or equity, whichever that is.
Now,
but if you really want to
now going forward,
the concept of real feminism, do you really need maybe a man to actually give you affirmation to reach to the pinnacle of your success?
You don't need a man to give you permission. Neither do you need a man to influence you. What's the other word she used?
Admire you?
Admire you. You don't need
About
that
you?
because the idea, first of all, I mean, it's really hard to be a feminist before one is completely whole in their own understanding of self, you know. You may just be what you call a feminist sympathizer, you know, someone who loves conversations about women empowerment, but the idea to be a proper feminist, you will first of all be whole and free from societal expectations, whether those be cultural or religious. You know, there's no way you can be a feminist and still be held by some idea of what a woman needs to be. You understand? So that's first of all, let's just start from that point. Now, a feminist does not need, or rather a woman does not need a man that they are going to spend their life with to influence them, admire them. I mean, that is nonsense, really. That the thing is, people deciding to come together and live as partners. There are many reasons why two people will come together and live as husband and wife or boyfriend and girlfriend. One of them could just be, you know, the idea of, you know, it works better because, you know, he is good with children, you know, he has a wonderful smile, you know, there are many things, you know, I love his voice, you know, there are many things, you know, that actually influence, you know, relationships, you know, what the reason why people come together. Some reasons are so awkward when you hear, you would not even believe it. Someone liked someone else's feet, you know. So for that reason, you don't need that, really. That is not an empowered woman. That is really a woman still trying to find their voice and that is and themselves. She's just trying to
that's where guys that's why
very
empowerment has funny angles.
I don't, you know. The thing about empowerment,
you see,
it's really not financial sometimes. You know, finance is good, but money is power.
You see, there are issues here, and that's why I say that we must be honest with this discussion. What we are calling empowerment, in my terms now, if I was to use straight line language, one, I will consider what we call self-awareness. And I am of the opinion, if I know myself, I will do better. If you know yourself, you'll do better. And because there are people ahead of me when I am being born, they have the role to make me know myself. So self-awareness should be instilled to both male and female. That's one. Number two, esteem, self-esteem. I need to have a value or self-worth in my own eyes so that it doesn't matter what you call me or how you look at me. So if these two can be achieved favorably for the male and for the female, then most of the things we are fighting in the context of empowerment will not even exist. And if they do, they will be so minor. Now, if you do it for one side, then definitely the matter will be just aggravating, whether you do it for the males alone or for the females alone. And it is on that premise that I send my request to any diehard of feminism that if we want to achieve this, honestly speaking, and especially without funding, because you see, feminism is so extremely funded, whether you are going to school about it, whether you are going to do research about it, whether you're going to start an NGO about it, it is extremely funded. Now, that funding has made us have a lot of loss of objectivity. Honestly speaking, that's where my issue is.
Listen, the issue that I have with you is that is your own personal opinion. All right, your personal opinion is not the absolute truth. It's not what is in the ground. African women are living in poverty, mate.
While their sons are living in riches, right?
No. Their sons are better off. Of course they are.
And that's why I'm saying we are wrong in that narrative.
No, we are not wrong. We are not wrong.
Maybe let me move this conversation.
Listen, Alphonse. Yeah, let's just go to that simple factor of land ownership, right?
Yes.
So
yes.
the son will have the right to own land, while the woman will not. You know, that's one simple factor.
Now,
So
now
we need this affirmative action. We need feminism.
The truth of the matter, that's what I'm saying. Let's be honest. The truth of the matter that used to happen long time ago. Today in Kenya, where I live, the law does not say what you are telling me. So the only thing we are missing is empowering the society to agree and accept and follow the law. And that's why I gave you an example. That's why I gave you example of my own family members. Now,
the reason why your grandmother was able to get that, or your mother was able to get land in her name, right, is because Alphonse has a stake on that land.
Not at all, by the way. I have no stake.
Advised the grandmother. Alphonse did the work. Alphonse is empowered.
Yes, and that's what I'm saying. Empower more Alphonses, the males.
All right. So thank you, Alphonse. I want to move this conversation forward. So nice to see you, Daktari. I think Victor says Dr. Victor is tuned. So let me move this forward. Now, Jackie, there was a conversation about maybe empowered women, which Alphonse was doing in terms of not being marriageable. I have a problem with that because now, if these women, they also need to be in maybe marriages, right? So how do we change that narrative where maybe men feel like these women are not going to be maybe submissive in marriage or be good for us? How can we change that narrative? Because it has been there for a long time.
Right. So for me, I first of all, it is quite sad that, you know, a man would think that a woman who's very educated is not marriageable. I think that tells a lot about the man himself. You know, it's really nothing to do with the woman. It's more about the man. You know, because if you don't feel confident enough to live with a woman with a few degrees, then as Alphonse was saying, you need empowerment. You need to be empowered. All right. So how do you do that, Alphonse? You can see Alphonse behind the curtains to advise you on that. But the idea that a woman who is educated is not marriageable, I think that is quite sad. But then it's a very common narrative that we hear. You know, that she's now too westernized. You know, she is too modern. You know, she cannot be a wife. She cannot submit to me. You know. Personally, as a feminist, I'm going to now talk as a feminist with my authority as a feminist. I don't know how much we're allowed to push our language use on this program, but
this one you can talk. I'm waiting for you. I want to hear it.
The other night I was in your show, so I understand your language. You can
I call that bullshit. That's all I say, you know, that's all I'll say. If you don't have the balls to get a woman who has beautiful education and make her your wife because you're afraid she will not be submissive to you, and by all means, what do you need a woman to be submissive for? Get a dog. A dog will do a better job at submission than a human being, because a dog, you tell them to sit, they will sit. Okay?
Jackie,
you need an equal. If you're getting married, Alphonse, I'm still talking. Thank you very much.
Okay, I will.
If you're getting married, get an equal. Get a woman who is your equal. You do not look for a woman who you will feel less intimidated about. If you've got a master's degree, I mean, don't be afraid of a woman with a master's degree because you think that they will not be submissive to you. Why do you need someone else, another human being, to submit to you? What's wrong with your own psyche and your own ego? Fix your ego. That's all I can say.
That's interesting. Maybe I'd let Alphonse to respond. Alphonse, you have a right to response.
But yes, to your friend, Patrick, to your friend, educated women, empowered women are very marriageable, okay? We are very marriageable. We make very good wives, okay? And we bring good money to the family. Marry educated women. Alphonse, continue.
First of all, what I want to say is that level of education and exposure, level of financial income are part of what makes stability in a marriage. If the disparity is huge between the couples, then one will just become a servant of the other, whether it's the male or the female. Now, it is not true what Jackie is saying that the men are the one who are scared of marrying the women of that caliber, but women with higher income, women with higher education, does not know how to behave in marriages with people of lower levels. Most of the time.
How do they behave, Alphonse? Tell us, how are they? I need to
How
write
are they
this
supposed
down.
to behave?
How are
I
they
mean,
supposed
Okay.
to
is
behave?
there standards?
You see, when you enter into a relationship, it should be a give and take. And therefore, you should know what you want. And I'm talking of social needs here first, because a marriage is a social setting, not an economic setting. Now, when one of you is earning higher than the other, then the truth be told is that the person earning higher should want to take more financial or economic responsibility if that relationship was to work, but not to take all the responsibility, whether female or male. Now, in our settings, and it cuts across a lot of our cultures that I've seen, ladies would like the man to be the one, for example, to pay for the house, but they want to choose the type of house they want to live in. Now,
Right.
sometimes they choose the house they can afford and within their standard, but it's way ahead or above the standard that that man can achieve or can pay for sustainably. So if the man says, let's go to a place I can afford, then this lady becomes, feels that she is being downgraded. Now, if you look at the opposite side of that coin, when the lady is earning lower and the man is earning higher, then the type of struggle in comparison and in generalization, you find that there's some form of stability because the lady comes to terms with her lower income and is able to fit in the higher income of the man easily because the man will not demand for her to go at that higher level and take care of that higher level. So I think what we need is, in the spirit of empowerment again, that we must empower these two groups, both the male and the female, so that if you enter into this space, you enter into a space you can sustain. If you marry, however good you think you are, if you have a master's degree, if your spouse has standard 8 and below, there will be a problem. However good both of you are, there will be a marital problem that will be a long-term problem. So marital status to be stable must also look into key factors, and education, level of income is part of that. So the ladies who are going higher should either don't just enter into relationship with men instead of telling them that they can't afford them. They just don't start somebody who is lower than you. So ask those questions up front, or they should be ready to take responsibilities of what a higher income earner in the relationship takes.
I let Jackie.
Right.
Jackie
I'm
have to
going to
respond. There's a
disagree.
lot of Jackie respond.
I'll disagree with you, Alphonse.
It's okay.
Guys, if you're watching and you're a lady and you have a master's degree and you've met a lovely guy, does not have a bachelor's degree, has just a national diploma, and they're a good man, you've assessed that they're a good man, marry them. There is nothing wrong with marrying someone who has less education. Some people can actually have more prospects. Okay, they may have promise. You may see a guy and you think, marriage is not about finance. It's not just about finance. There is more to marriage than finance. There is security. I mean, personally, if I was stable, what I would be looking for in a man would be much more than money. All right, much more, many important things that actually feed what I want from a man. So I'm so sorry, guys, but I am against what Alphonse says, that if you have to check, if you're getting married to someone, check that
so
they
Jackie
are more educated than you.
Wait.
No, Jackie is representing what I'm saying. She's misrepresenting it.
No, she's just saying
I have said level of income is a factor, and most of the unions, whether you agree or disagree, when you enter there, you will find it's a factor.
You clarify, Alphonse, just clarify this. Mark Zuckerberg, if that woman was to judge him based on the PhD he had, where will she be right now? Bill Gates, all right? Are you telling us that it's only in Kenya where we need maybe to check these men or rate these men that way.
Yeah.
Whereas other countries, we have seen guys with maybe high school or even primary school diplomas actually doing better. So what is your actually position?
My position is this. Whether you're in the West or in the East, Central, South, or North, if you enter into a relationship, there are factors that you must consider very seriously, yourself and those factors, before you enter into them. And one of those factors is level of income and how you will behave. And you must create the scenarios, the best case scenario and the worst case scenario. Now, your behavior in the worst case scenario should be most likely the reason why you should enter or not enter into that relationship. Now, truth be told, there are people who have entered into unions, even not knowing that they have a problem with income. But now when they're, and I'm talking of ladies in this case, because that's where I think my story came from. When their income went higher than this man, the type of relationship started getting frosty. The man either became so insecure because he didn't know how to handle a woman who deals with, who has more income. You see, if a man didn't know how to handle a woman with more income, and then they married well, and then the lady end up having more income, the man will have a problem in that marriage. The same with this woman. If the lady didn't know how to handle a man with lower income, and now the higher income has come, and this man is behaving in a specific class which is lower, she may not know how to handle that. So those are things you need to be having a personal, open conversation with yourself.
Let me push this to you, Jackie. You know, maybe even if we talk on the reality, there's so many millionaires maybe who didn't use the theory of Alphonse. So and actually, like as I saying, what you are saying is theory. Kwa ground vitu ni different. Is it
fanya hivi. Now that you guys have a lot of practice, tell me the women who are earning high way above on the echelon and have lower earners as their husbands. The ones you know in the public space.
There are very many, Alphonse.
I want the ones in the public space.
Yeah, Hukupia, that is the. There's so many, and people are leaving and having children and going to bed, and they have more money than
I have a friend. She's
and
very
Alphonse, you just need to work on your. No, Patrick, wait. Alphonse, you just need to work on your ego. There's an issue with your ego, mate. There's an issue with your ego. Work on it. You know.
So how do I work on my? If I didn't bring it on board, why do I have to work on it? You need to agree with it.
No, I will not agree with it because it's not right. Because the thing is,
I didn't bring my ego.
No, but the way that you're presenting your ideas, they're ridiculous, Alphonse. They're really crazy. You know?
If I may disrupt you both, probably if I can answer Alphonse on that issue, let me tell you something. A lot of these people whom you're saying, a lot of women, when their financial bracket goes up, they tend to have, like a difference in opinion, or somehow like a kind of disrespect. I'll tell you something, number one, that's not true. Because also when you come to the women's side, they'll tell you, I supported my husband when he was not financially stable, but when his bracket went up, then his disrespect also went up. And I'll answer this. That is a base of character on who this person is. So we cannot put the blame fully on financial, brackets or anything. This is the character of a person. His or her character is rotten from the beginning, whether they have money or not. They are rotten from the beginning. So the higher the financial bracket, the higher the disrespect, because this is already a fabric in them that exists, not because of their money. The money only amplifies the level of disrespect or the level of lack of character in them, but it's not caused by money.
Now, Daisy, I hear you. And first of all, what you are quoting is that the character is exposed when money is either on board or is lax. And there's this statement.
That is with all human beings. That is a human thing.
And that's why I say, you see, and that's why I'm putting it clear that male and female. I don't know why you people are putting it on one side. Now, this is what I've learned in the past, and this is a quote that I am not the author, which says, you will know your woman when you run out of cash, and you'll know your man when he gets a lot of cash. So what I understand with that is that cash is a factor that will expose the character of that person, as Daisy put it.
But they are spoiled from the beginning.
Guess
Yes,
what?
and that's what I'm saying. Assess yourself before you enter, and don't assume that finances will not be a factor.
I mean,
I
those
agree.
are good,
I
those are
agree.
good conversations to have before you get
Yeah.
married, of course. However, they're not that important, Alphonse. They're not the backbone. The way that you're presenting them is like they are the backbone. You know, they're the core of a relationship. They're not. And over again, people get into relationships and marriages with people who earn less than them, and they live very well, Alphonse. You know, don't be too scared, you know, of women empowerment. I have diagnosed you with femophobia. You know, you need to.
I have only one brother. I have several sisters. I have only daughters, 3 of them. I have a female wife. So I have nowhere to run by having a phobia of women. So, however,
No.
what I need to know and what I need to make my daughters know is that the world they're going into, you see, I am preparing them for the life. But then the boy that is supposed to be their friend, they will have a boy in their life. That boy that's supposed to be their friend is not being empowered. What will happen when they meet?
Listen, he is going to go to Lanana High School. He's going to go to Alliance Boys. He's going to go to, you know, Mangu High School. I mean, your idea that girls are existing in this utopia in a vacuum without boys also getting access is ludicrous. What we're trying to tell you is that boys are not left behind at all. Boys are actually already ahead of girls, and they are now being pushed.
All right, guys, I want us to move forward. So I need to
get to boys. I need to understand this. Thank you.
Can we move forward, Alphonse?
No, just a minute, Patrick, please.
Alphonse, 1 minute.
Yeah, let Alphonse talk.
When you go to university or colleges where people live on their own, majority of the boys, and I'm talking because of the people who have been raised from 1980s, majority of the boys, either the father was absent or was not there completely, or they have, for whatever reason, they have been raised, genuine or not genuine reason, they have been raised by a single mother. Now, these boys...
And you have a problem with that as well.
Listen to my words. Now, these boys cannot even wash their own clothes.
Sorry, that was me throwing shade.
There's washing machines. So
they cannot even wash their own clothes, and they can't afford the washing machines while in those colleges. Now, they can't cook for themselves when cooking is being done. So you find that there's, and those are basics of empowerment. Those are basics of empowerment. So if you are not seeing those as lack of empowerment, then we are prepared for the worst if you continue on the same trajectory of
no,
let me ask you.
Those are little things. We've got washing machines coming up. Okay, so don't worry about
dishwashers. We have dishwashers.
We've got dishwashers. Okay,
so we don't need to wash dishes.
I've not washed clothes in nearly 20 years like that. So you don't need to worry about those are small things, right?
But
they
are the foundational things. If you lack them, then the big things will never fall in place.
Okay, Alphonse, there's a problem there. Washing clothes is not a foundation, and washing dishes is not, right?
It is an empowerment. It's not education. I'm talking of basics of empowerment.
It doesn't have to be the empowerment. Maybe women need.
You can be empowered at the family unit. Patrick, if you are not empowered in the family unit, then you will never be empowered anywhere else. And if the family unit
so people have to be empowered on how to wash clothes, really.
Correct.
I mean, I thought it's about character system and
how to even
and wash dishes.
Correct. Let me tell you something. Let me just tell Alphonse something. I know he's using this analogy that is really making me laugh because I understand where he's coming from. I understand what Alphonse is saying. I'm saying I do. But here's the thing, though, Alphonse. Just because you're surrounded by women and your what's it called, and your sisters and you're raising daughters, doesn't make you a feminism. You've raised a very important issue on self-awareness. It takes you to decide that I want my children, I want my sisters, I want so and so and so and so to be empowered. because you're self-aware. But just because you're surrounded by these people, automatically don't say I'm for women, because the moment now we want to discuss issues about women and open up and show you the skeletons in the closet, my friend, you become defensive. You'll become defensive.
And it's because also you don't want me to talk about the men and tell you the issues in the open closet. You know, you have closed the men somewhere so that you discuss the women in exclusion. That's where my problem with Jackie's feminism is.
Oh,
Yeah. And as I said that. Yeah, so if you
Let's
want to
address
do this thing
questions
to
here.
get
So,
good results, then the first thing we must do is to ensure that this so-called empowerment is empowering the male and is empowering the female. They don't need to go through the same programs because they have different issues. But we must be deliberate that for us to get a good result, we must address their problems.
Okay.
Alphonse, I will tell you this. I will tell you this. Right. I'm going to now tell you why we have to shut men out when we are discussing issues of women. All right. Now, women are not, most of the time, especially where women have suffered some kind of sexual assault, right? They feel safe around men. All right. So that's the one thing you need to understand. And our feminism is mainly about creating safe spaces where women can actually pour out their hearts and actually get the help that they need. All right. Now, the thing about oh, is someone joining? Oh, sorry. So the thing about women empowerment, it has more. It is economical, but it's also very cultural, and it's also. I mean, we are fighting cultural norms. That's one thing. Of economics is just another part of it. You've mainly talked about the economics of it, but we've got the cultural practices that we are fighting rigorously in our women empowerment. Right? That is not my echo. I think that's from Dennis. Guys. Okay. Anyway, so, yeah, mute him. Okay. So we are we've got cultural practices, and then we've got social norms, you know. We've got many things to look at here. And then we've got, you know, again, now criminal behavior from men. Now this here, criminal behavior from men. This is a big element of our women empowerment program, or our insistence on feminism. All right, because we still feel that women are very unsafe. You know, a woman will wear a short skirt and immediately that will make her a target for rape. Yeah, that is still unacceptable. And you cannot. Your argument was that, but you know, men have to be empowered at the same time. When you're talking to the women, talk to the men as well. Your idea was that by talking to men, coming to talk to men about you know, sexual assault, then you will fix the problem. That never fixes any problem. Some of the biggest predators in our world were very influential men. You know, there is the Me Too movement that was established recently after this Weinstein guy, this Hollywood producer, became, it became apparent that he had been abusing women, you know, just attacking women who maybe went to his house. And, you know, these are big people who are respected in society. So, Alphonse, what I need you to understand, and Daisy understands where you're coming from. I personally don't.
All right, so
even though I talk very loudly and my voice is very good, you know, and I can match you very well, I still feel, you know, some kind of threat from you as a woman. You understand? And not that Alphonse is a horrible man or anything, but Alphonse's agenda is to demean my humanity. You understand? So that demean my humanity and advance his humanity. All right. So that's the message I'm getting from you, that, you know, you know, we can just be in the same box. Why can we not just eat together? But the problem is, if we'll be walking in the middle of the night at 12 p.m. in 12 a.m. in Nairobi, right? I will be at risk of being gang raped, but you will not. For the difference, you know. So that's what I need you to understand. There are certain things that I am just not where you are. You are just ahead naturally. All right. So that's
Thank
what I
you.
want to say.
This is what I was
Thank
saying.
you, Jackie. I want to push this. Okay, Dennis left. I wanted to push a question to him.
Yeah.
Let me push this to.
This is the issue, Patrick. For
Can
example,
I push a question to you? I want us to finish. Just.
But I'm interested
shortly.
in that rebuttal on that issue of criminal behavior of men.
Uh-huh.
Now, what she's saying is true. When men become criminal, of course, criminality is not something to bargain with. So the starting point is that it needs to be managed quickly and faster. It needs to be handled with the ruthless it requires. But now, where my position is, it cannot. If you hear that people are criminal in nature, majority of those people are males. Now, what we need to do is, can we put money and research funds and understand why is it globally these people don't grow in the same village? How come that majority of criminal behavior come from the males? There's an underlying reason why this is happening. Because if we don't understand that underlying reason, we can never address criminality among these men. So if that is now known, then from there we will be addressing these men, knowing this is what causes criminality in men. Because remember, this lady who is being gang raped, or at 12 a.m. when me and Jackie are walking in the city, she is unsafe because she's going to be raped. I'm also unsafe, but I'm going to be killed. So if the two of us, if they met us, the two of us were met, me and Jackie were walking together. My body will go to the mortuary, Jackie will go to an ICU somewhere. Now, is that a better situation? The answer is no.
No.
Right.
So I mean, anyway, never mind. I don't know, Alphonse. I just still feel that you really reduce our humanity. Now you've made yourself more at pity, by going to the morgue, and I go to the ICU, and I mean that is reductionist behavior. That is,
Let me move forward. Let me move forward.
Even in the war-torn zones, the females become refugees, and their children, their husbands, and their boys become dead. So we go to a refugee camp. Yeah.
Okay, Alphonse, let me move this. So maybe Wekesa is saying 50% of marriages that break is caused by financial issues, guys. So you are very defensive of the discussion. Go to the core of the issue. Go to the core of the issues. Okay, let's first. I want us to address what Sylvester actually raised of this discussion about. Do we really? Maybe let me get Dennis to do this. Dennis, I want, maybe because you just got back, welcome, but I want you to address this. Do we really need women rep in our country? And are they really doing what they were supposed to do? Dennis.
Oh dear. Okay.
Dennis, we cannot hear you.
As he makes his microphone, I think he needs to unmute his
Can you
mic.
unmute it? Unmute your mic.
But anyway, why is Sylvester asking if we need women reps in our country, and he's not a woman?
Okay.
Dennis,
we cannot be able to hear you, Dennis. Maybe Sylvester, you can answer Daisy. She's asking why you're asking that. Okay.
What Dennis says that it's the same behavior, male dominance, that we need to work on. Alphonse thinks his job is to police how, women, the kind of access women get, and that is what we need to work on, male dominance. Why does he want to, I mean, never mind. But to me, it comes back to male dominance. And that's what we are pushing back. We are saying, no, come on, push back a little bit. You are too overpowered.
This is where Alphonse's point of empowerment needs to come in.
That is Alphonse.
Let me get Alphonse to answer this question, because Alphonse is the only person who may speak for Sylvester, right?
No, Patrick, Alphonse will say we also need men's rep. Okay, wait, he's going to talk. Just wait.
Alphonse, please proceed.
Okay, first of all, I participated in the constitution making as a student.
Ooh,
Uh, my idea of the women rep position was different from what we ended up having. One, we need it. One, we need it for affirmative action.
Thank you.
And because women are a marginalized group in our country in terms of access of resources, making decisions. I have been a union leader. I've been a union leader, and I remember stepping down saying I cannot sit in that seat where we are representing workers in the banking industry in Kenya. Majority of workers are women, and yet the decision makers in our table for workers, none is a woman. I stopped.
Thank you.
Yeah. Now, when I did that, one of the things as I said them, I want us to discuss the issue of breastfeeding. So how many of us here knows what it takes to breastfeed? So male cannot discuss female issues in absence of the women. That should not happen. It shall not happen.
But it happens all the time. It happens all the time.
In the same manner, women should not discuss male issue in their absence. So we should not now stop one and create the other one. So what we should do is create a space where the gap is fixed. And how do we fix the gap? For the issue of the women rep position, my take, the proposal that I was backing, was that since women rep is a county issue, is a county position, each county should just have 2 members of parliament at the county level. One is male, another one is female, so that by the time they enter the parliament, we will have 94 people, and half of them will be female, half will be male, both elected. So that is the type of thing I was backing. Why was I backing that? Because it will have managed the issue of disparity when it comes to voting on gender issues. Because some of these things we may not need to reason with them, but we need to work so that we solve the problem first by not reasoning. So part of not reasoning is just have the numbers, let the numbers do the work, then discuss the merits later. So for the issue of women, in my view, the reason why we think that the women representative is not doing what they're supposed to do is because we don't know what they're supposed to do. We have never read it. So when we are saying they're not doing it, we don't know because it's in the constitution.
No, they advocate, Alphonse, we know what they are supposed to do. They're advocating women agenda in parliament. They are the ones who articulate their issues, what they need to be addressed in the society.
That's assumption. It's in the constitution, not even in another act of parliament. It's in the constitution, right? And it's elaborate, and it had a reasoning behind it, and it was affirmative action. Now, that's one. Two, the reason why we don't understand their role is because we gave them a role, but we didn't give them resources to manage activities. So we always think that your resources is the only job. So we are thinking that the people who have resources and they are mismanaging are doing better job than the people who are advocating and coming up with policies, but don't have resources to implement those policies. And it is our stupidity as a team, as a people. We must stop that stupidity, to be honest. So it's not the women that are not working. It is us being stupid by not understanding their job and not ensuring that we advocate for their job to be more effective, including advocating for additional legislation to give them now financial resources, because it seems that it will make what they do be more amplified. So anyway, they're doing what they're supposed to do. They may not be effective, just like their male counterparts in parliament who are equally thieves and doing some very many wrong things and mismanaging our resources. So I don't think the women rep is a position that we should scrap. We should enhance it by adding resources to the role.
Good. All right, guys. I want us to move to the last.
And I'm very sure
Jackie and Daisy and Jackie will comment about that, and then we'll go to the partition.
You're lucky that I don't know anything about it, but I could have come with,
She feels like hugging you right now for that point. You are like, yes.
Yeah, lucky. Okay. Daisy, do you have anything to say on that? And then we go to the party shots.
No.
Okay, so you can give your parting shot as you say your last thing.
Yes, on my parting shot. Now, I'm just basically going to take a few points that I've learned from each and every person involved in this discussion, and I'll start with Alphonse's point of view. He's talked about something that's of self-awareness, number one. like I've said throughout the whole discussion, is that the system already, as we go about, does not favor women. Coming into this world, we know that. But at the end of the day, we need to be aware that the system does not favor us. But this should not mean that we should not also equally take an initiative to find out how we can empower ourselves as women. Because you cannot just sit down and say the system does not favor me, so I'll take a back seat and everything, and then we have all these forms of bitterness. So I'll take the point of self-awareness to actually find out how I can empower myself more, and in the process take it upon myself to empower other women around me. It may be my daughters, it may be my family, it may be my friends, and also empower them, whether they are male or female. Number two, on the point of self-initiative, like Alphonse has.
Is Daisy's internet okay?
Okay, I
This
thought
will
it
you
was mine.
close, yeah?
Yeah.
So, Alphonse, you can proceed with your parting shot.
Mine is to say that gender is sexed with role attached. That's the basic of my understanding of the word gender. So if you don't attach a role to the sex, then it's not gender. And therefore,
Sorry, I don't know.
Sorry, can you explain that again, Alphonse? Gender is sex attached.
attached to a role, you have roles attached. What to attach to various sexes in our society.
Who attaches these roles?
The society.
Right. Who is the society?
You and me.
Right. Okay.
Yeah. So gender is sex attached to with roles attached to them. So what we need to do is to look at what are some of these roles that we have that actually are an impediment to equity of opportunity and of good life to both female and male. Then we address them so that and we must participate both sides, both sexes, in this case male and female, so that we are able to come up with a solution that is sustainable, it's not a fight, and it's long lasting. Now, for those who are in the privileged position, because they came there first before the rest, that is the males, and particularly the adult males, they need to know that it is in their own interest that their children, both males and females, have equal opportunity, and their neighbors, both male and females, have equal opportunity, regardless of their gender or sexes. Yeah, so that to me, that is all. Please empower people by making them know what they are doing well and what they're not doing well, so that they're able to correct them as well. Thank you.
All right, thank you, Alphonse. I would like maybe to give you a shout out from Antonio Pio. He's asking, he wants a confirmation if you're in Kenya. So I think he joined the conversation late. So you can confirm, I confirm on your behalf, you are in Kenya, right?
Yes.
You are in Nairobi. Okay, good. So he's in Kenya. Yeah, he's in Kenya, but actually locked in the city. All right. I also bring another maybe aspect, a comment from Joan Nyangara. So she's saying, while there is still need for affirmative action needed towards the Kenyan women, I agree with Alphonse, they need to empower men as well, since they seem to be left out, and as a result, it has led to violence. Empowered women end up being branded toxic feminists because they seem to choose more for themselves and refuse to be chained and dictated by patriarchy. All right, so yeah, so there's a lady here supporting strongly Alphonse's analogy. But anyway, let me move to Dennis. Dennis, you can actually, I was pushing a question to you, and then your internet went off. No, so you can actually maybe answer if we need the women, and also you can give your parting shot. If we need women rep.
Thank you very much. I was using a different gadget, and I was trying a different gadget, and it didn't work. So I have happened to listen to what our beautiful ladies had to say about this position of women rep. And I mean, the women rep position does not really make any sense, because as you understand, and they can confirm here, that women are their own enemies. So trying to address the issue of women being their own enemies by creating positions or reserving some positions for them, will not help. This is a pretense of the highest order. We go to the same school. We sit for the same exams. I know so many ladies who did better than me when I was in school. They used to do better than me. I mean,
Yeah.
let us create an enabling environment for all human beings, regardless of gender. So this business of trying to uplift women above men, trying to balance the equilibrium through gender doesn't really make any sense. Take, for instance, you got a lot of women that are qualified, but take, for instance, those that are nominated for certain, various political positions, and from evidence, you can tell that it is not meritocracy that really matters. It is if you can please a man in power, and how you please that man is not through meritocracy, is probably through other means that can, ways that cannot be explained in public. So women have been taken advantage of. I mean, why should we pretend to be giving them some preferential treatment? There is no need. Once you create an enabling environment for every human being, the smart ones will always be smart, and those that will be left behind will always be behind. But the solution with women lies in themselves. They got the numbers, but they've never made use of those numbers. They are their own enemies. That remains a constant fact. And as much as we want to create so many positions for them, that is not going to help. Thank you. Yeah.
Thank you, Dennis, for that aspect. I really would have loved you join this conversation before. It could have been real fireworks. But anyway, you're hard. Yeah? I don't want Alphonse to talk to bring more fireworks. But I'm just saying, Jackie, are you there? Or are you frozen? Yeah, good. I thought you were present. So, are really women? Maybe let's address that before even you start, so that if there is any problem, then we can respond. Are women their own enemies? Actually, 50. We usually say 50 plus 1 in Kenya is
Let
women.
me respond to that part.
Allow Daisy first.
Daisy can respond.
Daisy.
There's this thing that we've been talking about with Jackie from the beginning, saying that women are the gatekeepers of patriarchy. Yes, that one I accept because of the unfavorable years of the system. So some of us already took that and put it into ourselves because the system has already been unfavorable to us from the beginning. That is good, number one. But number two, just because it is said women are enemies of themselves doesn't mean that among us there are women who want to do better for themselves than for other women. And those are the ones that we are pushing for. Exactly. Those are the ones that
you say patriarchy is good for you.
No.
I mean, for women.
It is not. It is the reason why we are enemies of each other. That one I can agree. But there are women among us who are willing to break the ice and raise other people up. And in the process of empowering other women, we find that there are systems, you see, as patriarchy favors men, there are men in the system now who will be willing and actually able to join the fight to empower women, and those are the ones that Alphonse is saying we need to also empower those who are willing. So just because women are gatekeepers of patriarchy doesn't mean that there are those among us who don't want to build others up. Those are the ones that we are calling friends of the system.
Okay. Jackie, but Dennis is here. If Dennis, you want to respond to anything, you just let me.
I'm listening. Yeah. All right.
So Jackie, you can go.
Right. So Patrick, I'm in honest shock. I'm actually very, very shocked by that comment because I cannot believe that Patrick would actually say that in a live show. Some things, are best kept to yourself. For instance, the idea that women who have risen up in power use their should I use the word, they have sexual organs to get to that level. That's unacceptable, Dennis. You cannot reduce women to that level. That's just unacceptable. That women Okay. I mean, even your own body language was so, oh my God, Dennis, you cannot say like that. You can think it, but you cannot say it.
Jackie, are you
That is
saying that?
because first of all, it is not true. It's false, of course, right? Women being their own enemies. I mean, what women are you surrounding yourself with? I mean, what kind of women are around you that are so, are so angry at each other, So that's the first question, You need to find out what the kind of women you're surrounding yourself with. But in general, that comment just shocked me. I've got nothing more to add to it. Because it's, first of all, it's untrue and it's unfair to women to allude that for a woman, even those who get, there is no meritocracy in even those people who get an elective seat. And you'll find that for them to get ahead, they will have perhaps slept with the men, who are in power, powerful men. So you are reaffirming, reestablishing patriarchy. Okay, I am your biggest enemy because my job in this world is to smash patriarchy. Okay, any forces that are established to undermine women using that kind of language, those are the forces I'm fighting.
All right, let me get Dennis. Let me give Dennis time to redeem himself first. Then I go to Alphonse. Dennis, please.
Let me confirm and affirm here that I got a lot of respect for women. I'm a married man. I have a daughter, and our women sometimes misinterpret what empowerment means. Empowerment to women does not mean picking a few one choice and empowering them, because creating an enabling environment that can uplift the lives of women and all human beings, because we cannot have a world of women and another separate world of men. We live together. So if we create an enabling environment for both men,
Dennis, if you are able to have a man just for men and a man for a world for women, right? Men will blow up their world and they will have no world. Whereas women would actually create a good world for themselves, As you say, women and then you used another analogy. You say that, they should just fight for everything as well. Because when I was in school, there were women who used to beat me in class. They got better marks than me. We don't need to be empowered because we are not smart. That's not the thing. There is no boy in my class. I did standard 8 in a mixed school. There is no boy who would beat me in class. I'm telling you the truth. Okay? Some people are watching, the people who went to school, and they will watch this. No boy was smart enough to beat me in class. So what I'm telling you is that it's not because we are not smart. Okay? We are smart. The fact that women need empowerment, the empowerment that is needed for women is not about that. It's about making sure women have the same access as men, access to resources, redistribution of resources as men, all right? The ability to feel safe as men, all right? So these are the things that we are fighting for, all right? And using the law, questioning cultural norms and all that. So please, continue now. Continue. But that is not.
Thank you.
Continue.
You don't need to get annoyed, Jackie, because the same breath is what I usually raise.
I'm very annoyed.
And I'm saying the feminism annoys me on at the same level, because
whatever.
Yeah. No, it is good to be annoyed, and it's sometimes good to be happy. It is life. It so happens. So what I'm saying, and I did indicate that I got a lot of respect for women. But Jackie Jackie has already indicated that no boy managed to beat her in our class. And I know of so many ladies that are qualified. that are supposed to get certain positions. I used an instance of the political nominees, and whether those that are nominated to those positions are the most qualified among the women that we know in this country. Unfortunately, they are not the ones that are the most qualified for those positions. I do know of ladies with remarkable qualifications that need, that qualify for those positions, but they never get those positions. But the way forward is this. If we create an enabling environment for all of us, because it cannot be a man world and a woman world. We live in the same world. So let us just create a level playground for both of us, so that if I'm better than another, if you are better than me, even in class, like you indicated that you are better than most boys, you qualify for whatever it is. It doesn't have to matter whether you're a man or you're a woman. So it is all about, it should be about meritocracy. It shouldn't be about gender. Because the more we continue a conversation like this,
the only way,
then we gotta have women, empowered more than boy child. Like now we've begun a conversation of empowering boy child. So we are not going anywhere with this, in my view. But I really appreciate your views. We'll always differ, but women still remain their own enemies. That is for sure, because some of these positions are not given by men. They are given by you, the electorate, majority women. So when you vote, when you want to empower yourself, rally fellow women to support you so that you can, change whatever situation there is from within.
Women don't vote. Not enough women go to vote. That's a factor that you need to know. All right? Not enough women go out to vote. That's one thing. All right? So they're not really their worst enemies. It's just that women don't participate properly in civic things. All right? So you cannot use that to blanket all women to be the worst enemies. And another thing is this, yeah. You say, you know very well, I mean, we are living in a very broken system, a very corrupt system, and a system where Sonko, a man like Sonko, is actually a governor. That is not a system to take pride in at all, because it's really never about merit. It's always about how much money you have and how much you can give around, how much influence you can get using your money. So if we fix the system, then it's a completely different story. But to allude that women are using their vaginas to get ahead is nonsensical. All right, but we can use those actually, because they are property. We can use them to get ahead, but we are not. I mean, we are using our own wit. All right. So please, first of all, respect the female form. Before you speak, respect the female form and respect female businesses, bedroom affairs. Do not get into that.
Patrick, allow me to speak.
Okay.
Yeah, speak Alphonse, and then
you can proceed with it. I don't want to stay there long now. Yeah.
Let me, Alphonse, before you speak, probably maybe we can just quickly wind up, because I can see we have already far-fetched. So Alphonse, speak and also add your final remarks. Dennis, if any, Jackie, and then Patrick and me will wind up.
Actually, I give my final remarks. The only issue that I am talking about is the response of Jackie. I said I fought for. I've been in the union movement. I'm in courts as we speak. I've had 6 court cases in the last 3 years. The people I empowered, the people I said, you guys go and take the position because we need women there. They were actually sexually used to ensure that now I am being fought for no good reason. So sex is actually a tool that women have impressed. They may not be 100%, but there is that level. And you see that rottenness, even if it's one rotten, is the one that is being amplified. So we must address it. I have seen the best students in my class in campus in University of Nairobi. The first 4 1.
You're not clear. What did you say? You're not clear. What did they use against you? I mean, can you explain that?
They were sexually seduced, taken and then given money and then told to write wrong statements. Of course, some of those cases have already won against me. Yeah, so sex was used as a tool to seduce them and put them in a corner where they were compromised. So, and I'm talking of trade union, and I'm talking of a union. It's only one union in banking sector. So I'm not hiding it because it's something known. So that's one, and the people are also involved are known. But number two, I've also said we had very quality girls in my class in campus. The first four in terms of performance were ladies. They merited to get what they got. But I also know the same class where ladies graduated because of having sexual affairs with several lecturers. So sex, again, has been used to get degrees in the university where I have been. I also know of a situation where I used to work, and I've worked in 8 different places. And out of these 8, I want to quote 4 of them, where ladies got promotion because of sexual favors, not because of merit. Not all ladies. There are specific ladies, and we know them, we can name them, we know they had sexual favor with who. So the issue of sexual favor exists, including in the political parties nomination and some other party nomination or elective posts that are supposed to be the normal nominations through still parties. So the issue of sexual favors exists. Ladies have used it to gain something or two. Men have used it as a bait. So if we are to discuss it, we must be objective around it, and it is existing. It might be a sounding demeaning if we put it in general, but it exists.
Men have also used sexual favors to get ahead. You know, men have also used it to get ahead. Okay, it's human nature. It's nothing to do with being female.
And that's why, Jackie, I don't want to protect what he said. I want us to amplify what he said in a way that.
The thing that Dennis said was that the positions that women get, right, are because they get with powerful men. All right,
nominated, yes,
right.
And
that is blanketing every nominated member. And every nominated what do you call them, MCA, you know, and that is wrong, you know. You cannot do that. That's false. Okay.
But you disagree that exists?
No. It agrees for men and women. I am a powerful woman, right?
Okay.
I have had young boys trying to get on with me as well, you know, to get ahead. So come on, I know exactly what I'm talking about. Men also use, you know, they hunt for women, especially women who are older than them. Like, you know, like women hunt for, you know, those degrees at the university. It's a human thing. It's nothing to do with women. That's what I'm trying to tell you.
And that's why you are saying that bottom line is, can we address human problems around this issue instead of addressing women issue around this issue? If you address women alone, yet it's human, then we will not get it right. That is the point.
Right. The problem we have, Alphonse, is that there's only one of me, and there are 500,000 who are voiceless in Kisumu, Nyahera, for instance. Okay, so it is not the reason why we have to make it a women's issue is because women are still more disadvantaged than men. We have to talk about women.
Jackie, you know, you are arguing with somebody who has gone through a lot in this space. One, I've gone through.
I think you're using your pain too much.
It's not pain. Just listen to this. Listen to this. I went to a mixed primary. I went to mixed secondary. I went to mixed university. Now, most of the mixed schools have been turned into girls' schools. Now, I don't think that is the type of empowerment that you want us to take in, because the boys are still going to.
That's the one that I want you to take in. That's the one I want you to take in.
And that one is skewed, and as long as we increase that skew, we are not going to get it right.
We were creating,
guys, we can finish this conversation.
By turning them into girls' schools, they were creating more spaces for girls to be able to access secondary school. They identified that maybe there were not enough spaces for secondary schools for girls. All right. And they're also thinking of keeping these girls safe, you know, to put them in secondary schools that are boarding schools. They are safer that way. Boys may be able to manage better in a day school than girls. So that's just a fact.
Based on
if I may cut this discussion short.
Because of predatory behavior again of men. That's the problem.
Let me cut this discussion short because we're going back and forth.
Yeah, Daisy, I've posted, and I understand. However, we might need this discussion further, and the reason why we need it further is because we might need to actually pick the issues, because it's usually motive. We need to pick issues. If we address issues, it will be better. But if we address what our forefathers addressed in the manner they addressed, we might miss the point.
We will go back. True. So Jackie, probably if you can give us your parting shot.
All right. Okay. So you want
Daisy,
to
you are
go?
not fair. You didn't give Dennis parting shot.
But Dennis had his parting shot. Has Dennis done his
Oh,
parting shot? Okay.
Let me just do my parting shot because, I'm looking at empowerment for self-reliance and sustainability. Confining girls to a girls' school for a period of 4 years. And then after that, they will go out there and live in a world where, both gender are men and women. I mean, this is a perishable way to do things because then you will have kept them confined with fellow girls for 4 years, but later on in life, they will live in a world of men and compete with men. So let us not try to put in place temporary measures that may not last them a lifetime. If we are to be realistic, let us have both gender, counseled and guided to, in STEM environment and subjected to a competitive environment together. And whoever comes first, whoever comes out the best, or if these issues of, meritocracy apply. If you are more qualified, you access this and that opportunity. But if you are less qualified, regardless of your gender, then you are less qualified even for opportunities. But if we try to confine this gender separately and this one separately, then we are not addressing this issue in the long term. But otherwise, thank you very much. I wish I had time, but I've enjoyed listening to this conversation. Jack there is very vibrant and very passionate about matters women. I like your determination. Keep it up. But again, it cannot be a world of women separate and a world of men separate. We have to coexist and we need each other. Thank you.
all right. Thank you, Jackie.
Right. Okay. So I think for my parting shot is that we need more feminists because clearly our world is. If men who have access to the internet and have access to gadgets to come speak on social media, also have the same type of misogyny that we are dealing with men on motorbikes, ferrying people up and down the villages, then we need more feminists. We need more women to come out and tell and try to fight for women's rights, because women's rights are very, very vital, very, very important. And feminism is the agenda on the table. We need more women to come out and actually listen. This is what Lord Tennyson, there's about the poets or Victorian poets. He said, this is what he said: man for the field and woman for the heath, man for the sword and for the needle she, that's the woman, man with the head and woman with the heart, man to command and woman to obey. All else, confusion. So anything else, confusion. Now, this poem was written in the 1870s or 18th. Lord Tennyson was around between 1800 to 19, just before 19. So basically, this is the kind of idea that you guys are pushing. Anything else, confusion, right? Now, this is the testament, the what do you say, the gospel that women were fed around the turn of the century, the end of the 19th century. They've been fed that for hundreds of years, that their work was to take the needle and sew while the men were out there with the sword. And that is the same idea that I'm getting when I'm listening to people like Alphonse. He says he's got daughters and he wants them empowered. But his idea of empowerment is that the daughter and a cousin of theirs, who is a boy, we don't think of the advantages that the daughter has. We see them as the same level of individuals, and therefore we just give them the same resources without considering the biological differences of the two people. That cannot work. We have to think of women as women and what kind of resources they need to go alongside men and compete with men. Now, this kind of message is in this book because this book is my feminist Bible. It is a book of the women who paved the way for me. What they did in Britain, the welfare system, for instance, that is their job. They campaigned for that. The bus system, where we have buses everywhere in the villages, sponsored by the government. Those are the women who did that. The National Health Service, women did that job. They fought for the National Health Service. So all these things were fought for by women, but these women, they fought for it because they were feminists. They fought for the vote. They fought for everything. We need feminism because feminism is progress. Guys, feminism is not just for women. It is for men as well. Alphonse is talking about attributes that are, gendered responsibility. Gendered responsibility. Okay, Alphonse is saying, think of men as well. Of course, yeah, Alphonse, I get that. Think of men as well. Thank you very much. Also, feminism is for women and it's poison. Oh, come on, Alphonse. Come on, it's not. The thing is, the reason why we need feminism is because we need to free you from the oppression, because oppression that we have, patriarchal oppression, is not only oppressing women, it's also oppressing you, because it gives you responsibility that you don't need to worry about. When everyone is equal, anyone can do anything, and therefore you have more time for yourself. Think about that as well. So women empowerment is good for men as well, not just for women. So you don't have these gendered responsibilities that you're talking about. Oh, we all have, society has given us responsibilities. No, we can create our own responsibilities in our own house and decide how we're going to do things. So I'm trying to tell you guys, we need feminism, and this is the time that feminism is going to progress even more, and we will have more of our girls accessing education and having access to sanitary towels and being able to talk their minds without fear. Thank you. That's all I can say.
Right. Thank you. Daisy, maybe you want to say something and then we just go.
Yes, my parting shot. I've probably taken a couple of things from each and every person, but here is what I believe. Here's one thing that I believe. I'm hearing people say competition, and I don't think there's really any need for competition among us. We are not competing against men and women. If we were, we already have a system that favors patriarchy and it favors men. So already we are meant to lose. But I believe in coexistence. Just as Alphonse has said, we need to empower both genders. But at the end of the day, we need to look out for women. I've been so lucky because I've had Patrick. We go way back. We go years. And I can tell you the reason I started my business and the reason I am where I am is because of Patrick and his support. Anytime he got an opportunity, he would literally fight for me to get a seat there. And 97% of the times, I got it because of his influence and his force and him saying, this woman deserves to be up there. So I believe in coexistence. And if we have people, like-minded people like Patrick, who are willing to hold us through the process, which is why I'm saying we need to have friends in the system, in this system of patriarchy. I can see Frida Mbetsa saying, before we have an equal competitive environment, let's find a way to fix the system first. A system that has been there for more than 3,000 years cannot be fixed in a day. It might probably even take another 3,000 years. So what we need to do now is find people in the system who are friends and who are willing to do away with the whole system of patriarchy and say, actually, this woman is able to do something here and this is why she's nominated. And again, at the end of the day, we cannot be spotted if we sit back, if we sit in our houses and say, because I'm a woman, somebody is going to empower me. No, we need to get out there. We need to have our voices out there. We need to fight, and we need to be willing to sit down and actually talk to people who are also in our safe space, who are willing to work with us into that safe space to actually accommodate us and make us be heard. So that's where the whole issue of self-awareness is. So if you ask me, a lot of people who know me know my father has been involved a lot in my life. He has been one of those people who have actually pushed me and actually told me I need to do something regardless of my gender. And we need men like that who are willing to, pour that same self-love into their children, into their sisters, into their, the women in their life, and actually empower them, which comes to the whole issue of distribution of wealth. So say, for example, if you're a father, you realize that at the end of the day, my daughter is being born into a system and I do not want her by any chance to be disadvantaged at that system. And from a point of love, you decide that whatever I am earning or whatever I am gaining out of wealth and everything, I am going to give it to my daughter under her name, so that she at one point will never ever be disadvantaged, but she will be in a position whereby she will be able to empower herself and other women. So that is where my point is. Coexistence, number one, self-awareness of both gender, males and females. Because at the end of the day, the core problem when it comes to the issues of society, such as gender inequality, boils down to the character of a person. At the end of the day, somebody like Patrick had a choice of saying she's a woman. I don't have to call her for this opportunity. She can get her way up there. But it's because somehow Patrick, in his own character, is a good person and decided, at the end of the day, I need to help someone. So that is where people. So that is where, for me, at the end of the day, I call for self-awareness, because this whole issue on gender will not go away if at the end of the day we do not have self-awareness and we do not have good character. So that's my parting shot.
Thank you. Awesome, guys. Thank you for joining this discussion.
Sorry, I was distracted a bit. Sorry.
Understand. So thank you.
I think what Alphonse was distracting me, so I don't hear what Daisy was saying, but I've told him to stop about that.
It's okay. You don't. All right. So this is a discussion we can continue. So let's have another conversation on this same topic. I hope we can actually address it. Maybe that time better and we can agree amicably. All right, guys. Good night, everyone.
Yeah. Smaller, don't make it too wide, make it tinier topic so it's easy. All right.
Bring it again. Bring it up this weekend.
I'll fight Alphonse like crazy. But thank you, guys. Thank you.
And you try. If you give me 2 minutes, you give Jackie 2 minutes also, because it seems like Jackie today got some privileges more than anyone else.
No. I get 10 minutes, you get 2. Get over it. Thank you, guys. Bye-bye, Dennis. Bye,
Right.
The promised land from afar, and it's so beautiful. No, you can't touch the fire, and you know it's not in vain. Steady dripping through the pain. Oh, steady rocking on the midnight train. Steady rocking on the midnight train. Oh Lord, steady rocking on the midnight train. On the midnight train. Siku zazibadilika, mengi yazidi kunipita jama. Oh no, maji yalipozidi kunga,